And we begin with Richard's favorite topics, UFOs.
Absolutely, Erica. And, you know, gone are the days. We did a big piece on this yesterday, and I was reading the comments. Yes, I read the comments. And people were saying, hey, I'm so glad that Richard and Erica, treated this seriously. And, you know, I think it's important to treat it seriously. Gone are the days when we joke about it, because the U.S. military isn't joking about it. They have authenticated these videos we're looking at here, shot by U.S. Navy pilots, objects the U.S. military, they don't know what they are. They move at speeds that we can't move at, drop from 80,000 feet to ocean level in a second. It's been a big story. 60 Minutes did a big piece over the weekend. Anyways, weighing in on this now, former U.S. President Barack Obama. He was on the Late Show with James Corden last night, and he appeared to also confirm these videos. Take a look.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory. You know, I think that people still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what that is.
Erica, he added, quote, "The truth is, when I came into office, I asked, is there some lab somewhere where we are keeping alien species? He said he got the answer back from his staff, no. So he tried to find out. He said he didn't find out, but again, saying that those videos look authentic. What do you make of this, Erica?
I'm with the former president on that. I mean, it's something to investigate, definitely. And, you know, I was skeptical before, but I think now, you know, hearing top officials or executives say things like that, it's interesting that they're sort of validating it.
Pentagon to release a report by June 1st, and we'll bring that to you as soon as they release it on this matter.
This evening?
Oh, boy, you betcha.
Imagine if you said no. Imagine, do you know what?
No, I'm good.
Do you know what? I'm gonna skip it tonight.
No, yeah, I have a question today. It goes to, let's make it for President Obama, since he's here. All this talk about dem aliens with the you know, what are they, UAFs or whatever they call them, you know, all the footage and everyone talking about it. It's like, what is your, like, I know that doesn't necessarily mean aliens, it is just a UAF, but I was wondering if you have a theory about that.
Well, when it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you on air.
But you'll tell us off air? Great.
You know, no, look. The truth is that when I came into office, I asked, right? I was like, all right, you know, is there the lab somewhere where we're keeping the alien specimens in spaceship? You know, they did a little bit of research, and the answer was no. But what is true, and I'm actually being serious here, is that there's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory. They did not have an easily explainable pattern. And so, you know, I think that people still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what that is. But I have nothing to report to you today.
Okay.
Unless, like, that. See, here's the question. Reggie might secretly be an alien, right? You remember in Men in Black? And so when he asks all these questions, he's deflecting. Think about it.
You are not the first person to have this thought.
Do we know what he looks like behind those glasses, right? I mean, his eyes might blink in the wrong direction. So that's a question that everybody can think about for a second.
Reggie, is that correct?
100%.
It's absolutely correct. Now, when we come back, we've got some life advice with President Obama. You don't want to miss it. Come on back, everybody.
In night vision video from a Navy destroyer, a mysterious flying triangle above the deck of the ship The Pentagon confirming the images obtained by documentary filmmaker Jeremy Corbell were taken by Navy personnel, expected to be a part of a report on unidentified aerial phenomenon to be presented to Congress this summer. Already online, some skeptics say the images are caused by cameras trying to focus, but some of the objects go beyond just flying in the sky. One shows a spherical object dipping into the ocean, similar to an incident in Puerto Rico where an object was tracked buzzing an airport, then flying into the water, popping back out before appearing to split into two and disappearing. Over the last several weeks, some of the nation's top former intelligence officials have been raising eyebrows.
Look at that thing. It's rotating.
Former CIA Director R. James Woolsey said he knew of a case where a plane was paused in midair.
A friend of mine was able to have his aircraft stop at 40,000 feet or so and not continue operating as a normal aircraft. What was going on?
In December, ex-CIA Director John Brennan said it was arrogant to believe there are no other forms of life other than the ones on Earth. And former intelligence chief John Ratcliffe says officials have been tracking technology beyond our capabilities.
We're talking about objects picked up by satellite imagery that are difficult to explain.
Like another incident off the coast of California in 2004 when a fighter squadron encountered an object that seemed to defy gravity.
What do you think it is?
I honestly don't know. I don't think that we have developed that technology. I don't think we developed it on this planet.
Video from that encounter and two other incidents were officially released by the Pentagon last year. Now new signs that the Pentagon could declassify more sightings of what they can't explain.
And guys, now here's the thing about those last three F-18 videos. I recently asked the former director of the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program at the Pentagon, point blank, are those the only videos that the government has? He said no, those were probably the least compelling videos. And in some videos, you see an object about 50 feet away from the cockpit.
Ooh.
Guys.
Okay, that's crazy. You know, I don't want to say I don't believe because I don't want them to come prove me wrong.
Exactly.
So, right. I'm with you. And by the way, think about every person who thinks they've seen something up in the sky. These are just the military confirmed ones.
I don't like it. I'd like to go back just like thinking that this isn't real.
Okay, moving on.
I'd like to be happy in my ignorance.
In 2020, the UFO sightings that Canadians phoned into the organization Ufology Research rose by 46%. The same thing is happening in the U.S. The American National UFO Reporting Center reported 1,000 more sightings than usual in 2020. Well, National Post, you might say, if there's more UFO sightings, it's because there's more UFOs. Duh. Perhaps, but consider some context. In Canada, the first documented wave of UFO sightings happened around 1914. In Ontario and Quebec in particular, dozens of reports were made of mysterious craft which sometimes dropped fireballs onto the ground below. In one instance, sightings of these things became so heavy that the army posted marksmen around Parliament Hill just in case. Did people think they were seeing space aliens? No, they thought they were seeing secret flying machines dispatched to Canada by Imperial Germany. No such machines existed, of course, but everyone was freaked out about the war, and soon every balloon, kite, or passing automobile was being reported as an invading Zeppelin. The moral of the story? People are suggestible. If your neighbor Jim tells you he just saw the Kaiser bomb his chicken coop, your chances of magically seeing the same thing just went up. And UFOs have been getting a lot of very compelling press lately. In April of last year, the US Navy officially released 3 videos taken by their pilots showing mysterious aircraft exhibiting qualities not known in any human-built machines. Then, just this month, the Pentagon confirmed the authenticity of a video showing a blinking triangular object in the sky. Now remember, the US military makes it their business to identify weird things in the sky just in case they have to shoot it down. And twice in the past 12 months, they've said, hey everybody, here's some stuff we totally can't identify. It would be like if the Vatican came out and said, hey, we keep seeing ghosts everywhere, and here's video footage, WTF. Here's a hunch that ghost sightings would go up. Now added to that are a whole bunch of other factors seemingly tailor-made to spike the number of UFO sightings. Pandemic lockdowns have meant thousands more people at home with more time to look at the sky. There has also never been more weird stuff in the air. For $30, I can buy this drone and have a blinking red light hovering over your backwoods drinking spot tonight. boom, UFO. Or you may have looked up into the sky in recent months and seen this freaking thing. This is Starlink, Elon Musk's plan to surround the planet with a latticework of mass-produced satellites in order to provide cheap global wireless internet. And we're all super drunk or high right now. But a fifth of Canadians are drinking more under the pandemic, and with fewer public places to get drunk in, a lot of that drinking is happening on the balcony or the backyard. Prime UFO viewing territory. So kick back, have a beer, and join the party. If these guys are seeing weird floating stuff they can't make sense of, the door is wide open to you, fellow Skywatcher.
See here was caught on camera flying past the SpaceX rocket just minutes after liftoff last week. Transportation correspondent Gio Benitez is tracking the story. Good morning, Gio.
Hey, George, good morning. Yeah, the internet lighting up with questions over this video. Did the object come from the rocket or from somewhere else? This morning, some possible answers. This morning, a potential close call caught on camera. A mysterious object captured on tape flying very close to the SpaceX Crew Dragon with 4 astronauts on board.
Mission and liftoff.
Take a look at this video. Just 12 minutes after the astronauts left planet Earth Friday morning, part of the Falcon 9 rocket separates from the Dragon. That's when some kind of object flies between the two. Take a closer look in slow motion. But what exactly was that object seen early in the flight? Sources telling us it appears to be ice from the liquid oxygen in that rocket. But this morning, no official confirmation on what it was.
The thing that makes me think that that is just most likely a piece of ice is that it happened right at the time where they were inserted into orbit.
Lots of hugs and smiles right now.
In the end, the astronauts arriving safely at the International Space Station over the weekend to begin their 6 months of research. And back here live at the Intrepid Museum in New York, we've got the Space Shuttle Enterprise right behind me. This actually played a huge role in understanding ice buildup during the shuttle days. Now this video may do the same, and SpaceX will likely look at it frame by frame, Robin.
Sounds good. All right, Gio, thank you.
President Obama recently addressed the whole UFO question in a serious way recently. Here's what he said.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory.
So, Jeremy, help give a little context to this. Why is it actually a pretty big deal that the government and the Department of Defense seemingly can't explain what these objects are, but are finally willing to talk about them?
Yeah, it's a sea change. It's a really interesting moment in American history where our government and intelligence agencies are addressing what's right in front of us, which is the presence of UFOs on planet Earth. Every president has been talking about this. Jimmy Kimmel is great, by the way. He does ask the hard questions. And even President George W. Bush was shown the first piece of imagery that I put out about a month ago, the pyramid-shaped UFOs. So now there's this openness to discussing. We might not know what they are, but we know what they're not. And when you're looking at this FLIR, forward-looking infrared footage, you see it's a spherical object. There's no plumes, no exhaust, no traditional propulsion that you could see in the thermal realm.
So let's talk about just sort of the realm of possibilities, because I think it's important that, it's, we were joking about aliens, and that certainly is the possibility that there's a connection to extraterrestrial life. But there are also, possibilities like this being technology that is being worked on covertly.
Well, let's talk about that. So just to give your audience a basic understanding, the U.S. Navy photographed and filmed pyramid-shaped UFOs and spherical advanced transmedium vehicles swarming our Navy warships. So this is an issue with the idea that you could have mid-air collisions, just basic safety. So I obtained and released that footage with my mentor in journalism, George Knapp. And all of this was unclassified, but it was directly confirmed by the Pentagon, which is really cool. So they're starting to talk about this. These are true unknowns. We don't know if this is from an adversarial foreign nation. We're pretty sure that it's not black budget programs within the United States, because nobody that runs those knows what this is. This appears to be, and it possibly is, a beyond next generation technology. So our Defense Department wants to know who has this technology, which represents this massive quantum leap in understanding of propulsion. who has it? What is their intent? Who's operating these vehicles? And so that's where we're at. And now finally, there's an openness that's been lacking for the last 75 years.
So why do you think the government is just now coming around to declassifying documents, revealing more to the public about what they've been observing all this time?
Yeah, look, they're being forced to. Our intelligence agencies and our politicians and congressmen and, senators, they are beholden to the American public and the American will. They represent us. So this is actually something that is overdue, where the Senate Intelligence Committee is putting together this mandate to put a report about the UAP or UFO topic. So I think what we're seeing is finally representative government taking this issue seriously because of basic safety concerns and the threat that this could be a foreign adversarial nation. However, the technologies do appear to be far more advanced than anything ever displayed in the theater of war by any nation on planet Earth. So that's got to tell you something that this is exotic.
I will tell you, I've watched that footage so many times. It is just hypnotic. Jeremy, thank you so much.
The coast of California, newly leaked video allegedly shows one of the U.S. Navy's stealth ships tracking an unknown object in the sky. And after a few minutes,
Splashed. Mark bearing and range.
The 2019 footage obtained by filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who last month released another video of an upside-down pyramid UFO hovering above a Navy destroyer.
This is part of a much larger series of events that we're going to be learning about.
The Pentagon confirming the video was taken by Navy personnel. The images now being reviewed by a government task force set to brief Congress next month on what they call unidentified aerial phenomenon. This weekend, 60 Minutes speaking to fighter pilots who reported seeing unidentified flying objects.
Every day for at least a couple years.
Former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence Chris Mellon says sensor technology has improved dramatically over the years, but pilots have reported seeing some of the same things for decades.
Are there any similarities between these recent incidents and incidents that go back as far as half a century?
There seems to be a lot of continuity there.
He says one of the biggest problems is the stigma that comes with talking about UFOs, something a Navy lieutenant commander also told CBS she struggled with after she and 3 others saw a 40-foot flying object disappear in 2004.
I think that over beers we've sort of said, hey man, if I saw this solo, I don't know that I would have come back and said anything because it sounds so crazy when I say it.
How would you describe this thing that we can't explain?
What we're seeing are a number of distinct, different things. Sometimes we're seeing a 50-foot object that can travel at hypersonic speeds and seemingly go into orbit or come down from, altitudes above potentially 100,000 feet.
Do you think that we will see a release from the government that shows something conclusively?
There is more that could be shared, will be shared with Congress for certain. I don't see that coming to the public soon.
And that is the problem. All we're really seeing are these little glimpses of leaked videos, while things like the original high-definition footage, the radar data, the sonar data, that hasn't been released because most of it's classified. And there could be some very worldly explanations. It could be Russian or Chinese drones, a top-secret U.S. project. But at this point, it's going to be up to Congress to get to the bottom of this whole mystery. Guys?
All right, Gotti Schwartz. Gotti, thank you for that.
And talk about some of the veterans who you painted and you wrote about. But first I want to ask you, this is a question that I think is very important to me and very important to the country. When you were in office, and I don't know when this happened or if it happened, did you go through the secret files, the UFO documents? Because if I was president, that'd be the first thing I did.
It's funny. My daughters asked the very same question.
They did?
Yeah.
Would you be allowed to tell your daughters what was in those files?
No.
You would not?
No.
Now that you're out of office, you can do anything you want, right?
True, yeah. But I'm not telling you.
You're not telling You're not telling me what? Are you not telling me that you looked at them?
I'm not telling you nothing.
The president, it's unlikely that that is ever going to happen.
You never know.
If I was the president...
It was unlikely that I was going to be president.
The moment I was inaugurated, my hand would it'd still be hot from touching the Bible, and I would immediately race to wherever they have the files about Area 51 and UFOs, and I go through everything to find out what happened. Did you do that?
That's why you will not be president. That's the first thing that you would do.
The
aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us.
Now, you know, there are a lot of people that are going to examine your facial expressions here, every twitch, everything, and say, and of course, so did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in, and he did check, and there was nothing.
Well, you know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Manny Pacquiao's on the way. President Bill Clinton is here with us. So if I was president, and I won't be, let's be honest, the first thing I would do after putting my hand on that Bible and taking that oath to serve the country is I wouldn't even probably finish the oath. I would run to the White House. I demand to see all the classified files on the UFOs. Because I want to know. I'd want to know what has been going on. Did you do that?
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah, we had I think it was at the beginning of my second term, we had the anniversary of Roswell.
You waited that long?
I did.
Wow.
Well, I didn't. And then there's also Area 51. You remember there was a great sci-fi movie where there was an alien kept deep under the ground?
Yeah.
Area 51. So first I had people go look at the records on Area 51 to make sure there was no alien down there. And people thought that because everybody who works there has to stop about an hour away and put on special clothing and then drive in and out. And that's because a lot of our stealth technology is made there. We know that now, but there are no aliens there. So then when the Roswell thing came up, I knew we'd get, gazillions of letters. So I had all the Roswell papers reviewed, everything.
If you saw that there were aliens there, would you tell us?
Yeah.
You would?
What do we know? We know now we live in an ever-expanding universe. We know that there are billions of stars and planets literally out there, and the universe is getting bigger. We know from our fancy telescopes that just in the last 2 years, more than 20 planets have been identified outside our solar system that seem to be far enough away from their suns and dense enough that they might be able to support some form of life. So it makes it increasingly less likely that we're alone.
Oh, you're trying to give me a hint that there are aliens.
So we just witnessed a few reports circulating on mainstream entertainment and news programming regarding recent alien sightings and governmental knowledge of such things. And we saw also Barack Obama on the Late Show talking, or rather reading from a script about some revelations concerning aliens, and some of those revelations did hint that the fact that the government knows more than it is letting on about the alien presence. So here we are at International Business Times, where we just watched that video about was the Pentagon researching on alien and UFO related incidents. And the article goes on to start out by saying that conspiracy theorists all across the world strongly believe that an advanced alien species from deep space have been visiting the Earth for hundreds of thousands of years. Despite the lack of scientific evidence, conspiracy theorists often put forward examples of UFO sightings that have happened in various parts of the world to substantiate their alien theory. even though most of the UFO videos that are currently available online spaces are fabricated. There are some footages that stand out. Now, are the footages that stand out that they're talking about that have been coming from government agencies and military organizations, are these in fact fabricated? Are they UFOs from out of the world? Are they beings from another dimension? Or are they earthbound craft that have been created with advanced secretive technology that to an unbeknowing public eye might be considered as alien technology, because any unknown technology is indistinguishable from magic. But some of the footages stand out, and they are referencing some of the footages in the last 12 months that have come from governmental agencies that have sort of pretty much soft declassified the existence of alien presence, be they extraterrestrial or earthbound aliens. And there is Barack next to an artist rendition of a penisless grey alien that looks a little bit more muscular than the sort of shorter traditional little green men. But mysterious UFO footage released by To the Stars Academy of Arts and Scientists is among one of the footages that stands out according to IBT, and it showed a UFO screeching across the skies at an unbelievable speed. And as this footage went viral, nothing goes viral unless it was meant to, the Pentagon itself admitted the authenticity of the video and revealed that they have carried out a secretive program named the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Is something we have mentioned and spoken before in previous alien related streams here at Reality Decoded. But to unravel the mysteries surrounding UFO events is the purpose of the AATIP, or the ATIP if you like to call it that. And even though the Pentagon has several used the word UFO, they indirectly admit the presence of these flying objects by calling them unidentified aerial phenomena, which may indeed suggest that they are earthbound technologies, and they'll probably go on to blame the Russians for their existence. But recently, a popular documentary filmmaker, aka Deep State Shield Jeremy Corbell, that was the grey-haired hipster-looking individual that was reading from a script in a couple of those articles that we just saw, and he also looks like the sort of man that would suffer from erectile dysfunctions and the inability to maybe urinate while standing up. May or may not pay for a female who is still lactating to breastfeed him for comfort purposes. But anyway, that individual, sorry, I digress, may get a copyright strike for bullying there. But he has released 2 UFO footages, and interesting choice of word, footages. I don't even know if that is a word. The plural for footages, never mind. But apparently he captured, this footage was captured by crew members aboard US Navy ships. And it is very remarkable how many of these sightings that are leaked or declassified by governmental agencies seem to involve the US Navy. But the first clip, Corbell shows, interestingly enough, a pyramid-shaped UFO flying in the skies, and it had an illuminating lights on it. Interesting choice of words there. But there's been a lot of reports and sightings of pyramid stroke triangular shaped UFOs. Elon Musk's good old SpaceX and all that kind of stuff, they've caught a couple of glimpses, and we saw a spherical shape at the launch of one of Elon's space rockets carrying 4 astronauts that somebody said, it's just ice. Doesn't make much sense to me why the ice falling off the vehicle would somehow indirectly sort of navigate to the right or left of that craft and then zoom through the middle. It seemed very purposeful and intent that disc was caught on capture 12 minutes after that rocket took off and left Earth. If I recall, it did. It might have just been all CGI'd, and most likely was. But Elon Musk, he's playing a part in this whole alien agenda, as is this Jeremy, what's his name again? Jeremy Corbell, James Cordell, JC, being thrown around a couple of times there. Jesus Christ, Julius Caesar. But the first clip, as we said, had a pyramid, and in the second one, a spherical shaped UFO can be seen plunging into the ocean. As both of these clips became popular online spaces, several netizens, I'm not even sure what a netizen is and haven't even heard of that term until I read this article. Let me know if you know what a netizen is in the comments below, or in the live chat if you are watching live. But they started to claim that alien existence on Earth could be a reality, and in the meantime, conspiracy theorists assured that aliens have built advanced secretive bases on the ocean floor. Remember the movie Abyss, and not so long ago there was a reboot of Waterworld, Tom Cruise, and directed by Steven Spielberg, which saw the alien invaders not descending from Mars in cylinders, but they had been on Earth all along and were buried underground. Is that a little bit of seed plantation and predictive programming right there? War of the Worlds does play a pivotal part in the whole alien agenda and the normalization. It was the OG original alien invasion story and fiction that has been used and plagiarized in what is considered news and fiction ever since its release. But amid speculations and rumors, former US president has now openly talked about UFOs on the Late Show, and he kind of changed his tune a little bit on the Late Show with James Corden to what he did when he was interviewed by Jimmy Fallon, also on late night television chat shows, and where Jimmy Fallon said the first thing he would do would run out and find all the documents on aliens in Alien Area 51. Barack said, "That's why you won't become president," only to go on and say later, a few years after that interview with James Corden, just this last week, that the first thing he did was go and look at the alien documentation. So let me know what you think is the lie and what is the truth out of those two statements. But Obama did say what is true, as we've already heard, and I will reiterate for you now, and quote, "I am actually being serious here, is that there is footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't exactly know what they are." And this revelation from Obama about UFOs adds to the growing legitimacy of the reports of the unidentified phenomenon and the government's knowledge of them at the highest of levels. The former president also added that it is very difficult to predict the trajectories of these unidentified flying objects. We can't explain how they move, he said, and they did not have an easily explainable pattern. And it is also, and so I think that people still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what it is. Easily explainable. Sorry, got a little bit sidetracked there. As some noise from above. But as Obama has also started talking about UFOs, conspiracy theorists strongly believe that these are all inevitable moves before an alien disclosure. I believe that too, that they are planting the seeds. They are slowly and gradually normalizing it. They are slowly and gradually making more of an effort to talk about this openly and seriously on mainstream media. The days of dismissing UFO sightings as the tinfoil conspiracy theory type hat wearers interest, just from the realms of those kind of thoughts and delusions, it is being spoken about. And as I said, disclosure, I'm sure, is only a matter of time, and there is an impending imminent alien false flag psychological operation event in the not so distant future, ready and waiting to happen. It's already been scripted, and perhaps they are just doing some final test runs and drills with their technology before the main event. But this, these conspiracy theorists also believe that alien disclosure is not a sudden revelation. Instead, it is a gradual process where humans will be made familiar with alien concepts. As I just said, they are beginning to ramp up the seeding with the alien agenda, and this is something that I've been talking about for over a year now, and it has been all part and parcel of the pandemic, the COVID smokescreen, and while people are paying attention to vaccines and masks and such forth and all that kind of nonsensical propaganda and distractory tactics, the seeds are being planted, and there is an awful lot of news and article reports about UFOs, and the reports of sightings of UFOs continues to increase month from month. So we're going to go and look at a couple of recent search results on what they're saying about UFO sightings before we go and look at some other all-out apocalypse type news in the form of zombies, asteroids, and maybe even insects. So stay tuned, guys, because Reality Decoded will continue. So another a recent article from around 10 days ago from the Daily Express reads the headline, UFOs, national security concerns as the Pentagon confirms sighting footage is authentic. And it starts out by saying that UFOs have been marked a national security concern in exclamation marks there. And this is after the US Pentagon confirmed footage captured by Navy personnel of a mysterious craft was in fact authentic. And Tuesday, May the 18th was the release date of this, and guess what is that latest new world order deep state shill, Jeremy Cordell. No one heard about this guy a month ago, and now all of a sudden he is the foremost world leading advisor on what government agencies needs to be doing in regards and in the light of the recent alien agenda phenomenon. So let's watch what he's got to say.
Well, we're kind of forcing their hand as a public, because when you release imagery that was given to you from actual Navy, high-tech weaponry systems, which is the green and the black and white things you're seeing on your screen, when I release those, there has to be an answer, because essentially what you're seeing is beyond next generation technology. You're seeing technology that far outmaneuvers and outpaces anything we have in our military arsenals. This is a concern from national security. Look, we can no longer deny UFOs are real. There is a UFO presence on planet Earth, and it's homogenous around the globe. In your country, in my country, it's time to tell the truth about UFOs. They're unidentified. We don't know what they are yet, but we got to find out.
So there you go, reading from the same script. Hold on a second, what do I do there? Click out of that. And as I said, he is one of the ones that is being used, the deep state shill, to normalize and provide the official narrative for the psychological operation that will be and is the alien agenda. And I believe it is only a matter of time before we see a deep state psychological Operation False Flag Alien Agenda Invasion event, in maybe even before the year is out. But anyway, UFO footage captured off the coast of California has been confirmed as authentic by the Pentagon, who said the mysterious video had been taken by U.S. Navy sailors. Once again, the U.S. Navy seemed to be in the right place at the right time, with the right equipment to capture this mysterious flying phenomenon, and then provide it to the Pentagon for release. And the clip shows a UFO moving across the sky before diving into the ocean and vanishing from view. And again, this documentary filmmaker who first leaked the footage, he didn't leak the footage, he was part of the agenda to make that footage public and provide, as I said, the official narrative for the alien agenda and the disclosure that is about to happen in the not so distant future, June the 1st, a couple of days away. The Pentagon does have to release or provide all documentation and information it has regarding UFOs to Congress. But Mr. Cordell, the Deep State Shield, told the Australian Sunrise Breakfast Show, essentially what you're seeing is next generation technology, beyond next generation technology. You are seeing technology that outmaneuvers, outpasses anything we have in our military arsenals, and this is concern for national security. Look, we can no longer take them, deny UFOs are real, he said, and just in a UFO sighting has an alien craft been spotted near Area 51, and there are some pictures of the black and white and green, grainy, again, nothing in HD, 4K or anything like that. I think maybe, you know, these aircraft in boats would have some, at least one camera that can get a clear image of what we're seeing. But he added, as we heard, there is a UFO present on planet Earth, and it is homogeneous, and it is around the globe, in your country, in my country. Again, the global threat, the unifying threat that Ronald Reagan spoke about back in the 1980s on numerous occasions, that what if the world faced a threat outside of this realm of reality? Would we put aside our personal and logistical differences in order to preserve humanity against that common extraterrestrial threat? Again, this is from the pages of The Watchmen, The Architects of Fear, a couple of fictional works that have told us and depicted a hoax alien invasion. What's this video of?
Like animal or some shit. What the fuck is that thing? Alright. What the hell is that? It's like some sort of like I'm not even kidding, some sort of weird UFO, dude. It's not a balloon, it's not a helicopter. What the hell is that thing? It's some sort of UFO. Like, it looks like a live actual like animal or some shit. What the fuck is that thing? Alright. What? Come on. Where's it going? There. Okay. We're zooming. We're zooming in close, and I cannot make out what that is. It almost looks like it's like metallic or something, like a balloon, but it's moving all around in the sky, so it's not a balloon. You know what I mean? It's like the way it's moving is like it's being what the fuck is it now? Bro, really? Where'd it go? It's fucking gone. What? Alright. Hold up. There it is. I don't know what that is, dude. That thing is not anything that looks like came from Earth. I'll tell you that much. That shit does not look from this planet. The way it's moving, the way it looks. I mean, what the fuck is that thing doing? Oh, whoa. Wait a bit. know what it is. It looks like it almost could be like a living, fucking weird, flying, floating creature motherfucker in the sky, like from another planet, dude. I don't know. That shit is fucking weird. Whoa. And I'm zoomed in. I'm fully zoomed on that bitch. Look at that. It's like, what is it? It's metallic. What is it? It like sparkles sometimes, you know? What the fuck? There, right there. What is that doing? Right there. Look at that. Look at it. Just look at it. And Bassmaster, look. Just fucking look. Alright, I guess that was it. Whoa. Thank you for joining me on another adventure of Steve's Reality. Stranger Than Fiction.
Alright, so the video we just saw was recently captured over Pasadena, California, on around May the 1st of this year. And the triangular UFO was supposedly seen over California by eagle-eyed spectators, with conspiracy theorists claiming aliens are watching how the coronavirus pandemic is playing out. I'm not entirely sure what conspiracy theorists are claiming that. I haven't heard those claims, but then I haven't really been looking for them. But I have suggested that maybe the coronavirus will be the earth germs that kills the alien invaders, a la War of the Worlds, because nothing could stop the Martian invasion, and they had almost taken over and decimated Earth for their purposes until those pesky earth germs started to kill the Martians who didn't have an immune system to it. Does go a lot to say for the support of herd immunity. But there are some sort of pictures, one of the triangular craft. It looks sort of like a funny cock and balls or sex toy, and I'm sure an artist's rendition on the left there. But the video has emerged from Pasadena, appearing to show a strange craft in the sky, which we just watched. The object is black and shaped like a triangle and seems to move in a very controlled manner. And the actors reading from a script that were filming the object, I don't know if you agree with me, they didn't exactly sound as though they were people that were shocked and in awe of the phenomenon they were witnessing, and did indeed sound as though they had been scripted and prompted and encouraged to curse as much as they could in order to add to the reality. But they as I said, were filming and expressing their confusion as what they saw, according to what the script depicted, they say. But according to one conspiracy theorist, and notice how in these articles they are using the term conspiracy theorists in what they believe these sightings are. He believed the object was sent by aliens to monitor the human race. They don't link any descriptions or information from that conspiracy theorist. Like, here is the article where he said it, follow this link and read it for yourself type thing. It just is hearsay. But furthermore, the UFO hunter believes extraterrestrials are seeing how the coronavirus pandemic plays out. Again, no link to the source of information there, but prominent alien hunter Scott C. Waring made the claim on his UFO blog, and he wrote, the triangular rotates in its position as it slowly moves over them. It has two longer sides and one shorter side, and almost looks like a hypersonic missile that the USAF has created, except this was hovering and moving very slowly. And there is the video once again, if you want to go and watch it for yourself. But the object rotates, rotates, and then rotates in a different direction, a little bit like the spacecraft in the Atari game Asteroids. But it was, if it was looking around and taking in the full scope of the view, has to offer. This is absolutely a UFO, but why is it allowing itself to be seen is anyone's guess, because it's meant to be seen as part and parcel of the seed implantation, the normalization, the introduction, and acceptance that the fact that there are unidentified aerial phenomenon, also known as UFOs. But the best hypothesis that he can offer is that the craft is monitoring the COVID infections and immunizations of the humans below. What on earth would an alien invasion task force want to go, do you know what, we've been looking at that planet Earth for some years now, but let's go and send some observers to see how they're dealing with this coronavirus and see how they're dealing with the immunizations, and let's see if everyone's sharing and agreeing with the right content on Facebook. It doesn't seem plausible to me at all. What kind of conspiracy theorist come up with that idea, I do not know. But again, maybe it isn't a real conspiracy theorist, it is just a creation of the deep state to provide an alternative official narrative for the alien agenda, and maybe to discredit conspiracy theorist types, if you so want to believe. What they're saying here: the Fermi paradox is an attempt to answer perhaps the ultimate question: where are extraterrestrials? Earth's cosmic neighborhood is part of a young planetary system compared to the rest of the universe. Because interstellar transport should theoretically be easy to achieve, the theory states Earth should have been visited by aliens long ago. 4 arguments for exploring the paradox: aliens never came because of a physical difficulty that makes space-time travel unfeasible. Aliens simply decided to not ever visit Earth. Advanced civilization are too recently for aliens to visit our planet, and aliens have visited Earth in the past but were unobserved. And does it go on? Yes. However, there could be several logical explanations other than aliens have sent down observers to check out what's going on with coronavirus. And the most likely is that the UFO is actually a drone used by someone of a very much human origin. However, Mr. Waring does believe that the coronavirus pandemic has opened up humanity's eyes, adding that the public is now ready to be told that aliens exist. And again, the whole time that the coronavirus has been going on, the alien agenda has ramped up. The sightings of increased month from month. Government officials and agencies have pretty much declassified the existence of unidentified flying objects. They're not saying they're aliens or visitors from a planet, but they are saying that they are craft, and it is technology that is unearthly. Let's just say that much. And he said, much like COVID-19 did the people in each country as it spread, because the public once believed that such a pandemic would be impossible. And yes, the human race has changed their perspective on that very fast. And again, this is a deep state shill reading from a script, and that is how disclosure of intelligent aliens would be, but it would not kill people or frighten them as much. So I brought you that because it was very interesting, just because this supposed conspiracy theorist believes that the aliens have been sent down to monitor how Earth is dealing with coronavirus. Bizarre, bizarre, bizarre. Back to the original article that we were reading, because we got misdirected. Where were we? Back to the stop. So we saw the video with that grey-haired hipster shill, and it goes on to say Marco Rubio from Florida said the stigma surrounded unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAPs, should not prevent an investigation. And Senator Rubio commissioned the Director of National Intelligence with a report into UAPs due by the end of next month. So again, it is really ramping up, and they are demanding answers and investigations to be carried out as to what this exactly is. And is this, as I said, the dawn and the beginning of the alien agenda event as it unfolds? I mean, some of my colleagues are very interested in this topic, Mr. Rubio says, and some kind of, giggle when you bring it up. But I don't think we can allow the stigma to keep us from having an answer to a very fundamental question. And he stressed that US must ensure it's not a foreign adversary capability, meaning the Russians or the Chinese. We said it's only a matter of time before they start suggesting that maybe this is the Russians or the Chinese using greatly advanced technology than that of the Americans, or is it the Americans' advanced technology that they're just blaming on the Russians or the Chinese? But the former Speaker of the Florida House of Representatives added it is a huge counterintelligence threat. If that's what it is, and we want to take that seriously. And his remarks align with former US Navy pilot's security threat, warning regards of hundreds of UFOs in restricted airspace. Lieutenant Ryan Graves, an ex-official, appeared on CBS 60 Minutes, recounting how he saw unidentified vessels flying off the coast of Virginia every day for 2 years, beginning in 2019. That episode of 60 Minutes recently aired just this week, and was all about aliens, and once again used a former US Navy pilot, Lieutenant Graves, to provide the narrative for that episode of 60 Minutes. And he said, I'm worried, frankly, if these were tactical jets from another country that were hanging out there, it would be a massive issue. And it is because it looks slightly different, we're not willing to actually look at the problem we face. We are happy to just ignore that these are out there watching us every day. Echoing other experts, Graves went on to say that the UFOs he cited could be a secret US technology or enemy surveillance tools or other objects. He said this is a difficult one to explain. You have to rotate, you have rotation, you have high altitudes, you have propulsion. I don't know what it is. Frankly, I would say the highest probability it is a threat observation program. So as I said, there's some more related articles on UFOs there, and a lot of links to other UFO topics over Salt Lake City. US concerns is national security as the Pentagon confirms a sighting. So as I said, guys, the mainstream are all up on the alien agenda, and there isn't a week that goes by where there isn't a whole host of variety of articles and reports on aliens and UFO sightings, which we are now going to go and look at what a recent search brought up in the news articles from the last 7 days regarding aliens. Stay tuned. We're going to check that out next. Right, so here we are at DDG, where you can see in the search bar I've typed UFO sightings, and we are going to go and quickly scan through some of the results that are cropped up as a result of that search. And first up, you can see there from the Daily Express, UFO sightings. US lawmakers demand answers as more leaked videos spark an alien frenzy. Now, we're not going to read all of these articles. As I said, we're going to scan through some of the highlights just to sort of demonstrate how much the alien agenda and UFOs are being pushed and promoted by mainstream platforms and outlets. And The Sun from the United Kingdom has an article that reads, ex-astronaut Chris Hadfield reveals the truth behind UFO sightings, and a Navy pilot remembers the absurdity of her famous UFO sighting from Task and Purpose a day ago. 60 Minutes interview sheds light on the UFO sightings in New Jersey from 2 days ago. And the first article that we did look at there, that we read out, was from 8 hours ago. So there isn't a day that goes by where there isn't at least one article from a mainstream outlet promoting the alien agenda. There we see from Forbes 9 days ago that global UFO sightings are taking off again. Yahoo News 3 days ago says the aliens haven't landed, but why you should be skeptical of recent reports on UFO sightings. Once again, the Sun from 3 days ago. Mystery as an anchor-shaped UFO leaves a trail of smoke before crashing into the Sea of Indonesia. A flying Tic Tac wasn't part of our plan, says a former US Navy fighter pilot who describes his encounter with a UFO. Once again, it is a US Navy fighter, and obviously the Navy are on boats and at sea, and we heard a couple of reports of UFOs crashing into the sea. Are they suggesting that maybe our aliens are going to come from under the oceans, and maybe they suggest that they've been here all along, or maybe they are just an unknown earthbound species that have been dwelling at the bottom of those oceans and have just suddenly got the technology to make it to the surface. You know, I'm trying to sort of decode what the seeds are being planted here as to what the possibility of the actual alien agenda, false flag event, psychological operation will be when it happens. And guys, I do believe it is gonna happen. Let me know if you agree. Be brave enough to share that opinion. But the media is taking UFO sightings seriously, and should we, says Forbes magazine from a day ago. They got a little quirky thumbnail there showing alien parking for those visiting extraterrestrials. Again, the former pilot claims that the Navy crewmates, again the Navy involved, stayed silent on UFO sightings so they don't look kooky. An ex-official who revealed UFO project accuses the Pentagon of a disinformation campaign, and I'd also go to say that possibly the Pentagon and the government and the mainstream media are all involved as part and parcel of an alien agenda disinformation false flag campaign. Trump reacts to UFO sightings. I'm not such a believer. Haven't heard much from Donald Trump since he's not president anymore. Didn't even know if he was still around. But Biden, another president, the former president and now the residing president, points to Obama when asked about UFO sightings and says, "Ask him again." I think we saw that clip earlier in this presentation. Bay Area residents spot a UFO, spot UFO clouds. Here's what they are again from 3 days ago. 5 past UFO sightings as UAP reports to be released by a task force. That was from Newsweek. How UFO sightings went from joke to national security worry in Washington from 5 days ago. Washington Post reporting that article. These are the states with the most UFO sightings. 24/7 Wall Street from 2 weeks ago. UFO sightings in Pennsylvania have increased during the pandemic. Part of a national trend, maybe, as it was suggested in one of the earlier articles that we read. Maybe the aliens are just coming to see how humanity is coping with the COVID pandemic. It's not just a global issue, it is a galactic issue, and the aliens are so very concerned in case it does spread out of our atmosphere and descend onto other planets in goodness knows how much effect a 99% survival rate earthbound virus would have as an effect on an alien species, because believe it or not, supposedly cats can get coronavirus now. But back to our search results. UFO researchers make Cincinnati home and say unidentified sightings are once again on the up, as they are everywhere, it seems. UFO sightings went from a joke to national security worry in Washington from the Seattle Times. That's probably repeating the article that we just mentioned above. UFO sightings, alien enthusiasts believe they saw a UFO over Swindon, which is an article we are going to come back and look at, because for those of you who do pay attention and have been around for a little while will know that Swindon is my hometown, my place of birth, and a place that I did grow up and spend the majority of my life in before descending upon the shores and soil of North America, where I've been for the last 14 years. But UFO news, Pentagon confirms more startling UFO sightings, and that was from joeblow.com. UFO sightings up in 2020. A Michigan expert explains why from 22 days ago. And as I said, it gets a little bit to around about a month as we go down. But Elon Musk rocket sparks interest in old UFO hotspots from nearly 2 weeks ago. And that is the bottom of the search. We could click to see more results, but as you can see, guys, it is saturated, certainly within the last 2 weeks and the last month since we did that first All Out Apocalypse episode where we did feature aliens, zombies, insects, and asteroids. But we are now going to go back and look at the article of the UFO sighting over my hometown, although we're not going to look at it on DuckDuckGo, because for some reason it is a little bit temperamental trying to navigate with all the pop-up ads that come up on that website. So we are going to go and momentarily head over to Google, good old Google, to read the UFO sighting that was witnessed over Swindon article from 22 days ago that was featured in the national newspaper, the Daily Express in the UK. UFO sighting. Alien enthusiasts believe they saw a UFO over good old Swindon. The headline reads from the Daily Express article, and let's go on and see what it has to say. A UFO has supposedly been seen in the skies over Swindon, Wiltshire, with alien believers claiming it is evidence of extraterrestrial activity in the skies above the United Kingdom, and it was written on Friday, May the 7th, 2021. There is a video. We'll come back and look at that in a moment once we've finished reading what it's got to say. And as I said, there's so many pop-up ads on this website. It is unbelievable. And a couple, it starts out by saying, driving in their car, were stunned to see a strange object floating in the sky. The object in question appeared to be almost perfectly stationary. As the couple drove around the corner, the object seemed almost immovable in the sky. The video show the supposed UFO as being black in color and shaped like a triangle. Very, very similar, in fact, to the one that we saw hovering above Pasadena, California. And again, is this all part and parcel of a deep state planned psychological operation, seed planting mission to provide us with the sort of the prologue programmatics for the full scale event when it does happen? And as I said, we are just currently waiting for Congress to receive documentation from the Pentagon and Department of Defense in the United States that claims will contain all research and information that those agencies have on UFOs and extraterrestrials. And it is an awful lot of sightings that are reporting triangular shaped craft, as we can see on the right there, very different to the sort of sci-fi stereotypical flying saucer that many of us are more accustomed to from the realms of fiction. And there is another picture of it over the skies of Swindon. Very, very unusual to see blue skies over Swindon or the United Kingdom, where it always seems to be grey, wet and dreary. It's partly why I left in the first place. But it is... it just gave me that weird, unsettled feeling when you generally have no idea of what something is and what it is doing, says the witness that captured the footage on video. It's not a drone, and it's not something that's being held in place or bobbing about like a balloon, they further stated. However, there are likely more logical explanations for the UFO sightings. For example, it could indeed be a drone which appears larger in size, as there is no perspective on the size of the actual object. There's another little click. Look for more UFO related articles, possibly the one we looked at over Pasadena. What is the Drake equation? Goodness knows what that is popping up for. But as you can see, there are an awful lot of pop-up ads and stuff here. Some more related articles. UFO reports these bookmakers stash odds on close encounters. That should give you also an indication of where this alien agenda is heading. You know, goodness gracious, will you be able to go to Vegas and place bets on such things? Watch the moment a man shoots up into the sky in an alien abduction. That might be interesting to check out. But back to the article. While there is actually no proof that UFOs are here, the sightings and claims from conspiracy theorists can lead to bigger questions. And Chris Impey, who is a distinguished professor at a University of Astronomy, he's a professor of astronomy, at the University of Arizona, and he wrote for The Conversation, while UFOs continue to swirl in popular culture, scientists are trying to answer the big question that is raised by UFOs: are we alone? But astronomers have discovered over 4,000 exoplanets or planets orbiting other stars, a number that doubles every 2 years. Some of these exoplanets are considered habitable since they are close to the Earth's mass and at the right distance, from their stars to have water on their surface. Another article says that you should suggest that you don't miss, suggests that Vladimir Putin is behind the UFOs spotted by the Navy. Again, blame Russia. All the time, the US Senator, UFO sightings, alien hunters claim to see a spaceship over Rugby, and aliens watching US Air Force Base following a strange video claim. 3 articles there not to miss. We could click on them all, but as I said, we do have other articles of interest that don't necessarily concern aliens and UFOs in this Out Apocolypse event. We do have some zombie related stuff, maybe even some insect stuff, as well as a little touch of asteroids to complete the trilogy of apocalyptic events that could be heading our way any time soon at any given moment. But the nearest of these habitable planets, the article continues, are less than 20 light years away in our cosmic backyard. It's very interesting. A little while ago, in I think one of the first streams we actually did here at Reality Decoded in its infancy was Close Encounters of the Hoax Kind. We looked at an actual governmental protocol animation that suggested it would take 20 light years for aliens to arrive, but it wouldn't be feasible for them to continue returning to Earth rather, because it does take 20 years and it would have an awful impact on their financial banking system. Why aliens would have banking systems similar to Earth, one can only wonder, but it does seem to be all part and parcel of the seed planning for a larger and greater agenda, psychological operation, false flag, alien agenda event coming our way soon. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss it. But extrapolating from these results leads to a projection of around 300 million habitable worlds in our galaxy. Each of these Earth-like planets, again, how on earth have they researched these 300 million habitable planets to come up with the results that each of these Earth-like planets is a potential biological experiment? Like to see their information, how they come to that conclusion. But there are and have been billions of years since they were formed, and for their formation to form life and to develop and get gain intelligence and technology and be able to surpass our intelligence and technology and be able to traverse to our world, unlike us being able to only sort of mythically be able to go to the moon and Mars. Again, believe that if you will. But I certainly do not believe that man has set foot on the moon or has landed a robotic drone on the surface of Mars, which incidentally also caught some interesting triangular shaped objects while it was roving around up there. But as astronomer and exoplanet hunter Jeff Macy put it, how would you go about hunting exoplanets? I guess with a telescope and an observatory, unless, of course, he does have his own special spaceship where he can go and navigate at the speed of light through the galaxies and be able to conduct his research on these 300 million habitable planets that are just like Earth. But he says that the universe is apparently bulging at the seams with ingredients of biology. Some more articles on UFOs that you could click on if you choose. As you can see, there is a huge push on this agenda, and I believe that is the end of the article. I am a little bit interested to check out that article about the abductor, but I do want to play the video of the UFO seen over my hometown of Swindon. Now, it is very short and not very revealing, so bear with me while I click on play.
It's moving. It's a bit weird. What is it? It looks like a balloon. I don't know. I can't work it out.
Rightio, we just saw the video of the footage of apparently a man from Texas being abducted by aliens and being sucked up by a beam of light after walking out of his front door. And as it took place in Texas, and we do have a bit of a Texan connection and a few Texan roses that do tune in and are regular offenders here at Reality Decoded, I thought it'd be appropriate to feature this little article as a token of appreciation to my Texans. Went to my hometown. Let's go to some of your home state. But anyway, the alien abduction caught on video. Watch the bizarre moment as the man shoots up into space we just witnessed, and I did slow it down for you and zoomed in. Let me know what you think of that. Doesn't look very legitimate to me, but this is what they're saying about the incident. UFO hunters are in a frenzy. They like that word frenzy in regards to aliens, and they are in a frenzy over a bizarre video clip we just saw that appears to show a man being plucked from the face of the planet in a flash of light. Could this be the world's first definitive proof of an alien abduction, or is it just a weird glitch with the camera, or maybe just a hoax faked video? That could be a more plausible suggestion. I'm not exactly convinced we witnessed a real life genuine 100% proof alien abduction at all right there, but alien abductions are a common thread among tales of conspiracies and extraterrestrials visiting our planet, and a self-professed abductee sometimes recall being sucked into a spaceship through a beam of light, where they were tortured or examined, and often, more often than not, probed rectally by the extraterrestrials on their spaceship. And although medical experts dismiss these stories as the effects of sleep paralysis or false memory syndrome, or maybe those thoughts had been implanted to them via some of the technology and electromagnetic frequency weaponry that can do just that, implant thoughts and memories into your mind that would never ever existed. A little bit like Total Recall, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was injected with a false vacation. But anyway, let's continue with this Texan abduction. Scott Waring, a popular conspiracy theorist and self-titled ET expert, has shared with his fans this bizarre footage of a supposed alien abduction, and it appears to show a man leaving through the front door of his property in Porter, Texas. Let us know, Texan Roses, if you live anywhere near Porter, if that's close to you. Maybe you could go and check out that doorstop and see if there's any energy or evidence of alien abduction around there. But a timestamp in the video's lower right corner dates it as early evening hours of December 26, 2019, and a Ring.com logo in the upper left-hand corner shows the video was filmed by a doorbell security camera. Prince Philip said he's interested in UFOs. As another article, and there is a picture of the man leaving his residence, and the footage that was caught on a doorbell cam in their Ring is supposedly the moment that he shoots up into space. And there is again another one of the pictures, although it doesn't really reveal an awful lot there. You can see the man leave through the front and walk past what appears to be Christmas decorations and lights. He then pauses mid-stride for about a second before vanishing from sight. In his steed, a flash of light appears to trail off in the night sky. So does this video prove aliens are zipping around the planet abducting people for their sick experiments? Not necessarily, if at all, but according to Mr. Waring, these are two possibilities. The man in the video was abducted, or he himself is an alien. Now, the latter possibility that was stated there by Mr. Waring, he is himself an alien, going back to Barack Obama's recent interview with James Corden. He mentioned that possibility that the musician Reggie, that is the resident musician on that show, may indeed himself be an alien behind the glasses, akin to the aliens from a piece of fiction, Men in Black, using fiction to reference reality for you there. And again, is this a little bit of a seed planting that the aliens have been among us all the time? You remember the aliens from V, when they arrived, looked just like human beings until we discovered they were actually reptiles underneath human skin. There's good old shill boy, deep state puppet Elon Musk playing the part of a billionaire tycoon similar to Tony Stark from the Marvel Iron Man series in comic books. And as I said, he's got a lot of SpaceX technology and satellites and stuff going around in supposedly in outer space in orbit of Earth that is also catching a lot of sort of strange phenomena, UFOs and triangular shaped things. Is he wearing a bandana there, trying to look all cool and gangster? You know that guy doesn't have a penis. You really... Share if you agree, Elon Musk doesn't have a penis. But the first theory is discounted straight off the bat by the Verman in the video who shared the clip with Mr. Waring. The UFO hunter claims to have received the clip via email with the following message. This morning, my fiance and I were looking through our video recordings by Ring and we found a weird glitch. She said, look, Ring has you abducted by aliens or you just been part of the rapture. Either way, it is really funny. It is also worth pointing out that Ring cameras do not film around the clock, but are instead activated by movement. A little advertisement there for Ring. Is there any more on the abductee? This bit of information explains why the man in the video appears to freeze before disappearing. He simply moved out of range of the camera's sensors. So the alien abduction theory holds no water since the man in the video is in perfectly good health. But what about Mr. Waring's other claim? He said, throughout history there have been stories handed down through the ages about gods and mortals creating children on Earth. Well, they are not gods, but aliens with godlike powers. This person in the video, he is such an alien. Again, pushing the fact that aliens could be on Earth and look like Earthlings. But Mr. Waring shared the 9-second clip on his blog, UFO Sightings Daily, as well as his YouTube channel, where it was both praised and dissected by fellow ET enthusiasts. One person noted the second pause before he supposedly turned into a light orb and he flies away. Highly suspect. I'm a believer, just not in this one. And another person accused the video of being doctored, while a third person joked, violently obvious that he just flew away, guys. So there it was, I believe, the article on the Texan that was abducted. Now, there was an article somewhere in amongst this that was a little bit clickbaity that was about the moon-sized UFO being seen descending from the sun. Like there's a beta male sitting, I can't poo, my bottom's not manly enough to excrete excrement from my bowels. I need it to be sucked out with a tube, and I can't get an erection like Elon, please. Sorry. I can't resist but mocking beta males like that. But we've got something. This is very weird glitches going on. It sort of freezes my screen. As I said, I'm trying to find this. There's another one, look, UFO sighting, an alien cloud spotted monitoring COVID-19 in China. What the fuck is with these aliens monitoring COVID-19? And again, we could click on so many of these links because there's just an absolute saturation of them. They are seeming to be controlling the narrative of what exactly is going on with these alien abductions and alien sightings and such forth. If or not they are aliens, they might indeed just be holographic images. There it is, moon-sized spaceship. And as I said in one the last All Out Apocolypse episode we did, I believe we looked at another object or asteroid that could indeed be a Death Star. It was a metallic asteroid, if you remember, and it was very large. But a UFO the size of the moon is supposedly be seen near the sun, and according to conspiracy theorists once again who believe it adds more weight to the hollow sun theory. Hollow sun, hollow earth. Let's see if we can play this video. Anytime when you're ready. I do have quite a strong signal. Wi-Fi. Oh my goodness, is this going to be an ad? Quite possibly. Alright, Right, there we go. Skip that ad. Excuse me there, guys.
There was a UFO sighting right over here in this area of the sun. Let me show it to you, then I'll show you a close-up. Watch over here. Did you see that? Now, you can't really see much. You can't see much now, but just a second, I'm going to show you a super close-up, and it's going to blow your mind. Okay, guys, check this out. Did you see that? Did you see that in the circle? Here it is without the red circle. Did you see that? Did you see the UFO shooting out? Okay, there, look at that. You see that explosion? It's unbelievable. Slow motion, 4 times slower. Did you see that? That is a big UFO. I'm talking moon-sized UFO. It is just huge.
I'm not sure how he come up with the conclusion it was moon-sized. It didn't look very moon-sized to me, unless, of course, the moon is that small. Sorry, they're playing another video here. I really do hate these websites. They're very difficult to navigate at times, and I think purposely so. There we go. Let's stop that. So should we bother reading this article or not? But by analyzing images from sun imaging site HelioViewer, an alien hunter believe that they have spotted a huge UFO near the sun. What appears to be a solar flare is actually a UFO, according to another self-proclaimed UFO expert. Conspiracy theorists also believe the object is around the size of the moon and exited from the surface of the sun. Scott Waring again claimed it's 100% proof that extraterrestrials are residing inside our host star. And he also wrote on his UFO sightings daily, I was watching viewer when I noticed an explosion. He is an enthusiastic alien hunter, indeed. So we're not going to go too far in it. I just did want to sort of click on and see what the moon-sized spaceship seen exiting the sun looked like. What was the other one down at the bottom we wanted to check out? The aliens in COVID-19. That was again, and we saw that being promoted in another article. So they really are pushing the aliens are monitoring COVID-19 agenda in narrative for sure. So again, the Daily Express, UFO sighting, aliens caught on film monitoring COVID-19 in China, claims an ET researcher. What's the bet? It might be this Waring character again, and choice of words. UFO fronters are in a frenzy over footage of a cloud-like anomaly over China's Zhubei city, with one conspiracy theorist claiming it was an alien craft gathering data on COVID-19. The fuck is this shit? Now, this is from October 20th, 2020. 3 twos make through 6, 3 sixes, right? 3 times 2 is 6. Make of that what you will. But this is the mysterious object that was appeared over that Chinese town. I'm not going to click on it because these videos are a fucking pain in the ass to play and are more ads for than they are worth. But the UFO or unidentified flying object was accidentally caught on camera from the 13th floor. Interesting, 13th floor of an apartment in Zhubei, and the 12-second clip, as I said, it's always a few seconds long. It's never longer than a few seconds. Pans across a construction sites near the Taeyuan High-Tech Industrial Park, where an anomaly appears in the sky. About 8 seconds into the clip, a flash of light cuts across the top right corner of the video. So in the 4 seconds of footage, this conspiracy theorist analyzed and come to the conclusion that that was an alien craft or vessel or object that had come to Earth to collect and gather data on COVID-19. Does that sound plausible in any conspiracy theorists decoding in what's the thing that fucking Sherlock Holmes used to do with a D? Divulging? No, I don't know. Deductions, there you go. His deductions come to the conclusion that that's what they were doing. Oh my god, in 4 seconds, look, they must be gathering data on COVID-19. But let's see how they got to that conclusion, see if it says or tells us any more. The clip was uploaded to YouTube on October the 15th and has since been analysed again by good old Scott Waring. I'm guessing this guy is part and parcel of the deep state agenda for aliens and is providing maybe some sort of nonsensical information that's discrediting it or giving, you know, causing eyebrows to raise and further questions is to his validity, I suppose. But he runs a popular blog, UFO Sightings Daily, and he believes that the flash of light was an alien. Of course he does. He's an alien hunter and is all about aliens. Everything's an alien to him, apparently. But he is featuring an awful lot in these articles. The last three, they've used him as a point of reference, which just goes to show and suggests to me, at least, that he is on the deep state payroll and cast character for the main event or the programming for the main event. He has made similar claims in the past when he supposedly aliens were spotted over Madrid and Bristol. But there is a picture of the cloud, and as I said, looking at that picture, would you think, what would your first thoughts be, or what would your deductions draw to the conclusion that that cloud was gathering data on COVID-19? Again, it was only around for 4 seconds in a 12-second clip, so 8 seconds were of nothing. But he said this latest discovery, a person was looking out the 13th floor when he caught the recording of a bright white glow, and it appeared to shoot to the right. So we're not going to click on it. It doesn't seem worthwhile for 4 seconds. But the cloud-like object is seen resting below a much larger cloud, and when the person focuses in, it shoots away, almost as if the UFO detected a human noticing it. It looks like the UFO may have... How was it fucking monitoring the COVID-19 virus in the Taiwan city? What on earth logical conclusion is that? I really don't know. Tell me if you think that that's what it was doing, or how on earth you would have come to that conclusion from 4 seconds of a cloud that shot off to the right. Alien monitors true stats of countries to make an accurate prediction of where the world is headed in the future. And due to COVID-19's, aliens love using data to make who the fuck is coming up with this? You couldn't make this shit up, guys, but the deep state, they can make it up, and they have the technology and ability to put this into an augmented reality for us. But Mr. Waring is no stranger to bizarre theories and questionable claims, as he shares supposed UFO sightings on a daily basis. Early in this year, he urged SpaceX chief Elon Musk to retrieve what he believed was a gun on Mars. But anyway, let's not go on too much more about this, because as I said, the clickbait in all these articles, we could be here forever and ever and ever. But we saw some questionable footage of a Texan man supposedly being abducted, and the claim that maybe he was just an alien with godlike powers in finished a little bit of turkey dinner perhaps on December the 26th. Some Christmas leftovers inside my work here on Earth is done, and off he zoomed. But we do have a couple more interesting articles on recent alien reports before we do go and start looking at some zombie related all-out apocalyptical events and articles that have also been circulating on mainstream in the last few weeks since that first stream, All Out Apocalypse, what is now part 1, and this is part 2, and it will continue momentarily. Alrighty, guys, this article on recent alien sighting from News 18 says, alien or new marine species, ? A mysterious blob that washed up on a US beach leaves netizens baffled. And I'm guessing that netizens, I've only just sort of heard of this term in the last sort of couple of days, to be quite honest with you, is what they are kind of referring to people that are part of web communities, the World Wide Web and stuff. I don't know. Let me know if you know what netizens mean, but it is a little bit of a concerning word to me, because possibly this is what will citizens will be reduced to netizens in a virtual world, having to work from home and maybe even having jobs in virtual realities. But the alien or marine species is of particular interest in piecing the puzzles towards the false flag alien agenda event psychological operation that the deep state is unfolding before our eyes in more ways than one. Firstly, because we're hearing so many reports of these recent sightings of prominently triangular shaped objects in the sky being caught by the US Navy, who obviously are at the, carry out their operations on the ocean. And also the fact that we've seen a couple of them crashing into the sea. Could this be sort of the seed planting that they are going to be aquatic aliens? And secondly, The Watchmen, a piece of fiction I've mentioned more times than I care to imagine, to be quite honest with you, along with Soylent Green. It is a piece of fiction that is very prophetic to me, and is it turning into the prophecy of the false flag hoax alien invasion carried out by an industrialized military complex deep state operative. But he used in his staged alien event that was carried out on Lower Manhattan in the fictional realms of 1985, the comic book series by Alan Moore, who also wrote V for Vendetta, a personal favorite author of mine. He depicted, as I said, a deep state hoax alien invasion that would usher in a new world. But the alien that was used, the fake alien that was used, was a squid. A giant squid, and in the HBO Watchmen series that kind of carries on 30 years after the event, the same deep state individual does continue to stage fake alien events using sort of shrimp and lobster type creatures that he teleports and drops on random cities to keep the narrative that Earth is being plagued and invaded by alien beings. But back to the article. The comment section, it was filled with amusing replies. As one course, sorry, let me start that again. I butchered it. But the comment section, the article teases us, says was filled with amusing reply, as one person called it an alien pilot. The amusement of that comment. Oh my goodness, but it doesn't prepare me for the high level of amusement as the other person called it an old moped. The amusement is just in overdrive right now. I can't contain my levels of amusement by those two comments, but there are some even more amusing comments than that we will see. As I said, that was just a little teaser of something to come in the article. But national park officials in North Carolina discovered a strange and mysterious blob. And also remember the movie The Blob. I think that also come from the sea and carried out a reign of terror on a small seaside town, and I believe Steve McQueen starred in that movie. But the mysterious blob that had washed up on the shoreline caused some concern, and the gelatinous mass is transparent looking with appendages and is filled with white orbs. It was clicked by the officials and shared on their official Facebook page. And again, they're kind of clicked is I guess a term that they are using to reference somebody who took a photograph or maybe captured a video, changing the language for the new world order. click if you agree, never mind. But anyway, it was clicked by officials and shared on our official Facebook page, Cape Lookout National Seashore. And it was asking netizens, again, there's that word, and using new language for the one world order. We're all going to be netizens that click and share and agree with certain things. But according to the Facebook post, despite being discovered on the beach a few months ago, the National Park Service experts haven't been able to identify what it exactly is. Although it might be something like the egg sac of a squid, in brackets they're not sure, suggests the Facebook post, and describing the mass as a finger-shaped clear sacs holding white eggs lying on the sand. They asked the public if anyone wanted to take a stab at identifying it for them. And there is another picture of the squid-like thing that was washed up on the beach that they cannot identify. But here it goes, guys. The comment section was filled with amusing replies, as one person, as we already heard, called it, I just can't contain the amusement, an alien pilot. Oh my God, the hilarity. Please stop it. It's just going to kill me. The humor is too much to contain. But another one called it an old mophead. Oh my goodness. The hilarity and amusement just doesn't quit. But the third person responded by writing, the beginning of the annihilation. But most of the people identified it as squid eggs found in translucent sacs, citing the Oregon Coast Aquarium, and asked the officials to put them in the ocean. Guys, I hope you can contain the amusement from those comments that that were just so hilarious. Probably the funniest thing ever to have been said on the planet Earth in all of history. But the article continues by saying that the Miami Herald reported that similar blobs and clusters of elongated segments filled with tiny eggs were also found at beaches on the west coast. Again, is this the seed planting? Are these the aquatic aliens that also have the technology to have these triangular shaped craft that seem to be floating around various locations on planet Earth? But Dr. Louis Zeidberg, a squid expert from California State University in Monterey, explains that such sacs belong to a specific species known as the California market squid. Talking to the aquarium officials, he said that there's an Atlantic species which is slightly bigger, but was separated from this species when Panama closed up, describing it as amorphous blobs that float in the open ocean. He further explained that some oceanic squids make such blobs, but our nearshore squids, such as these, make it a heartier capsule, which are produced in shallow water with a protective coating to keep them from getting smushed. But read all the latest news, breaking news, and coronavirus news. Here is a click on link that ends this article on the aquatic alien unidentified object that washed up on a Carolina beach shore. So what are your thoughts and opinions, guys? Is your opportunity now to let me know those in the comments. If you think this is an alien, is it an unidentified aquatic creature that washed up due to the result of the Panama Canal closing? I'm not too sure. Either way, what this could be, it could just like in The Watchmen, be a creation of a sci-fi development research team for, sort of like a movie prop. And is this a prop for the false flag psychological event alien agenda that is, as I said, seemingly unfolding before our eyes, and something that, as some of you did come to find TSP TV and eventually follow me here to Reality Decoded will be aware of. I mentioned at least 2 years ago that we were due, almost 3 years ago, or we were going to be due at some point in the not so distant future, a false flag alien event, and it's something that for quite some time prior to being a YouTuber rather, was in the belief that we would be seeing a large global scale false flag unifying event in the form of an alien event agenda, be it an invasion or a visitation. But we are going to look at one last alien related article, and coming to think about it, this entire stream could have possibly been another all out alien special. But as I said, there is a lot of stuff also that has been out in the recent weeks that does sort of coincide with that first all-out apocalypse stream we did about a month ago. So following on and keeping you up to date with the stories behind the COVIDian smoke screen is something I have sort of put upon myself as a duty to deliver. So as I said, guys, we are going to look at one last alien article that will bridge us into zombies. So stay tuned, guys, as Reality Decoded continues. Right, our last article regarding aliens in this all-out apocalypse part 2 comes from SciTech Daily, and the headline of this article reads, "Invasions by alien insects and animals can teach us about COVID-19. This article is interesting because, again, it is another example of how they are using or how they are sort of merging aliens in with the COVID-19 narrative. And it is also interesting because it is alien insects. And, you know, we remember the murder hornets for last year. That was a video that I was quick to tell you and warn you about and notify you that DARPA do have several projects related and regarding insects, drones. They're building weaponized insect drones, and they also have a GMO, genetically modified organisms, insects of their own that are going to be flown out and used to combat what could be related to, in this article, of invading alien insects. And I'm not suggesting that these aliens are of extraterrestrial origin, but it is, again, using the terminology alien in accordance with that of COVID-19. And we've already heard in a couple of articles in this presentation, All Out Apocalypse Part 2, references to the possibility that these visiting aliens and these strange objects or craft that we are seeing captured on film quite frequently at the moment are here to observe humanity during COVID-19, and are collecting data on how we are dealing with the pandemic. For whatever logical reason conspiracy theories have come to that conclusion, one can only wonder. But to me, it suggests that this is the deep state merging all of this together, and that COVID was indeed the smokescreen in the cover story, so that they could, the deep state could begin to roll out their alien agenda, and, as I've already mentioned, put all the technology and pieces into place for the final production. This is a period of seed planting for the main event. And also, you know, in regards of all out apocalypse, you know, some may consider that living under a pandemic conditions is an apocalyptic event in itself, although it isn't exactly the same as we have been depicted to by fiction in some of the sort of pandemic themed movies and TV series such as Outbreak, Contagion, Stephen King's The Stand, and more recently Utopia. And as we are already sort of somewhat living in an apocalyptic event, what apocalyptic events are they going to add to the mix? And it does seem to me, and hopefully it does seem to you guys also, that the alien narrative is being rolled out, and the alien agenda is not necessarily in full force, but it is gaining momentum. And this is why we are seeing almost on a daily basis many relevant articles to alien objects, existence, or visitations. So the article we will get into right now, sorry, I did get a bit off topic there, or maybe I stayed on topic and just digressed away from the article itself. But there is a photograph of what could be alien insects right there. And again, another apocalyptic event could be a swarm of deadly killer bees or insects that carry viruses. And, you know, they did claim that bats in Wuhan were the reason we've got COVID-19. So who knows, maybe some of these alien insects may be carrying mutated versions and strains of the virus with a 99% survival rate. This brought the world to a standstill in a semi-apocalyptic state. And what all-out apocalyptic events are heading our way is what we are trying to decode. But invasions by alien insects, animal species, have much in common with the outbreaks of infectious diseases and could tell us a great deal about how pandemics spread, according to a research. Biological invasions, not alien invasions, where animals, insect, plants, and microorganisms are transported around the globe. And again, microorganisms could be viral pathogens by humans, are becoming more common and have a global annual cost of at least 118 billion pounds. Not sure how they got to that figure, but an investigation by an international team of scientists, including the University of Leeds, says that the emergence of human diseases share many of the same challenges as species invasions, and that studying them together could provide solution. And again, extraterrestrials are a species of alien creatures, right? And maybe they might come and bring and spread diseases of their own. And as I've already mentioned several and many times before, that perhaps COVID-19 is Earth's get out of jail card. And after the alien invaders have done a little bit of depopulation and destruction on planet Earth, those pesky Earth germs, although they do have a 99% survival rate for humans, might be completely and utterly fatal to the aliens and wipe them out, just as depicted in H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, where it was the Earth germs that prevented the invading Martians from their total global conquest. But co-author of the report, Dr. Alison M. Dunn, a professor of biology, said that integrated approaches that take into account the health of humans and that of animals, plants, and the environment are urgently needed to prevent the future pandemics and the spread of invasive species across the globe. And according to the elites, humans are in fact an invasive species around the globe that are denting their plans of a utopian dystopia for those that are wealthy enough or privileged enough to survive the cull of humanity. But cross-fertilization between two disciplines could improve prediction, prevention, treatment, and mitigation of invasive species and infectious disease outbreaks, including pandemics such as COVID-19. Cross-fertilization between two disciplines is interesting language, and it could improve prediction. And again, are they kind of suggesting cross-fertilization between technology and biology? But the paper, which is published in the journal Bioscience, says that prevention of species invasion requires analysis of how it will arrive into a new region and primarily spread, and how it spreads to the surrounding regions, the secondary spread. But this dual pathway classification has seldom been used to look at emerging infectious organisms in humans, even though it is well known that factors such as behavior, income, tourism, and trade can influence transmissions. Invasive insects are most frequent transmitters of organisms causing human diseases. The tiger mosquito has spread to all inhabited continents through trade and has been responsible for the spread of dengue fever, yellow fever, West Nile virus, and chikungunya. That's an interesting word, chikungunya. Again, DARPA, insect allies, their insect ally project, where they have genetically modified insects and injected or included in their DNA a virus that or a protein that then can be spread to breed with existing alien invading insects that are causing problems to agriculture. According to DARPA, the Defense Agency Research Project Corporation, they are out and about just to save agriculture from invading insects that may damage crops and such forth, and it's got nothing to do with creating sort of weapons of mass destruction that can be deployed anywhere in the world and carry all sorts of strains of viruses that could be passed on to humans. But pathogens, the article continues with, that cause these diseases go through the same stages as invasive species, but can spread much more quickly, leading to pandemics, say the researchers. Even the patterns of spread of re-emerging native diseases, such as Ebola in West Africa, share similarities to those of invasive species. The paper concludes that biosecurity is key to preventing the spread of invasive species and of infectious diseases in humans, and calls for medical scientists and ecologists to work together to learn more about both. Biosecurity is also an interesting word, don't you think? But Professor Montserrat Villa, researcher at the Esakatia, some place that I can't read, was an author of the study, said that pandemics such as COVID-19 and biological invasions have much more in common, and they are linked by the same global change drivers, and they are showing similar features. The paper gives as detailed review of the parallels between scientific approaches to invasions and human epidemics. Again, an alien invasion could also spread similar to that of a virus, perhaps. But given the increasing rates of emerging infectious pathogens and biological invasions worldwide, and the ongoing global health crisis caused by coronavirus, the need for integrated and interdisciplinary approaches to biosecurity has never been greater. What are interdisciplinary approaches? I wonder. It'd be nice if they'd let us know exactly what that was. But is that nanotechnology, guys, that will be injected into us that will be able to pass on our data in real time to how healthy or unhealthy we are, or what diseases we are carrying. There are some references there for you to follow. We're not going to bother reading because that is the end of the article, but I did mention a little while ago how cats apparently are spreading the coronavirus disease, and lo and behold, there's a link there. Are cats spreading COVID-19? A study finds domestic cats can be asymptomatic carriers of SARS-CoV-2. We're not going to click on that, but just thought I'd highlight and point that out to you. There are some interesting articles at the bottom there that we aren't going to read. International tracking of the COVID-19 invasion. And look how they're using, again, the word invasion with COVID-19. It wasn't a pandemic anymore. It's an invasion. And who knows, maybe these alien visitors in these triangular crafts brought COVID with them. And maybe they were collecting bats for samples and left one behind that was contaminated with the alien infection. I'm not saying it is. Make of it what you will, but I wouldn't rule it out. That is a plausible solution for the official narrative for the deep state, as they do seem to be unraveling the alien agenda more and more, week for week, day to day. So as I said, guys, that was the final alien-related article of this stream, All Out Apocolypse Part 2, where we are now going to look at some other insects, but not alien insects. This time, we're going to be looking at zombie insects as we redirect from outer space to the undead. In the zombie agenda hasn't sort of quit, although it isn't the undead that are rising from the graves as type zombies. There's a whole host of zombie related articles that we are going to be looking at right now. Is All Out Apocolypse Part 2 at Reality Decoded continues. Stay tuned, guys.
They've got to tell people. Tell them what? The oceans die. Planktons die. It's people. Silent breed made out of people. They're making our food. Next thing they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You better tell them. You better tell them.
Alright guys, All Out Apocalypse is gone, all out zombies, and our first zombie related article from recent weeks comes from the good old New York Post, and the headline that you've probably already read: get ready for sex-crazed zombie cicadas known as the flying salt shakers of death. Couldn't make this shit up, but they sure can. Zombie cicadas. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But as I said, we are merging from alien insects to zombie insects. And we will dive right into this article. It starts out by saying, first, there were murder hornets. Sounds like a movie trailer that you might see before the main feature in a movie theater. First, there were murder hornets. Then, there are aquatic alien squids with sacs like fingers and translucent eggs. But are you prepared for sex-crazed zombie insects coming this summer from Sony Pictures, starring Kurt Russell, Meg Ryan, Sigourney Weaver, and Sandra Bullock, and an all-star studded cast? Zombie insects, sex-crazed invasion 2022. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully you found that little divergence amusing. But first, there were murder hornets. And again, one of the first people to raise the alarm on YouTube about the murder hornets, and in particular the reference to DARPA's involvement, research, investigation into controlling genetically modified insect, as well as creating insect-sized drones that can deliver a payload, have their own artificial intelligent navigational system, and can differentiate between people they've delivered payloads to, as well as what apartment building they are in. But get ready for the sex-crazed zombie cicadas, dubbed as flying salt shakers of death. Who on earth dubbed them that, I do not know. But again, the fear porn is there, guys. Murder hornets, salt shakers of death, doom, gloom, apocalyptical events. But a psychedelic fungus that eats away the genitals of cicadas turns them into sex mad beings, and this is a result to help them spread it further. Goodness knows who makes this shit up. But the zombie insects are reportedly expected among Brood X that is emerging in New York City. Brood X, guys. That alone sounds like a movie. Brood X. The sex-crazed zombie cicadas are coming to your town. First, they invaded New York. Now they're heading to Texas for all-you-can-eat Texan buffet. The fungus, however, Masopora, which has chemicals similar to hallucinogenic magic mushrooms, infects infect the insects during the 13 to 17 years they spend underground. And scientists at the West Virginia University have said once they emerge above ground as adults, the cicadas lose the back part of their bodies, including their butts and genitals. My goodness, let's hope they don't carry or pass on any of those pathogens to humans. Can you imagine what would happen if our butts and genitals started falling off? We already have to wear masks to protect ourselves from a 99% survival rate virus. What on earth will we have to wear in terms of personal protective equipment to stop our butts and genitals falling off? And how would women genitals fall off? Surely they would just fall out. But nonetheless, there is a picture of one of the sex-crazed zombie insects for you there. And again, using the terminology zombie is promoting somewhat of a zombie agenda also. And don't forget, it was not so long ago, we did Zombie Week, where we featured the CDC's zombie preparedness guide on their website, as well as looking into several ways that they could feasibly and possibly distribute the necessary means to create a staged zombie outbreak. But not only do these winged insects behave as if nothing is wrong, the fungus makes them try to mate. Even after their genitals have fallen off, when everything they encounter to help spread it further. How can it spread once they've lost their genitals? If they spread it by having sex, doesn't make sense. But they engage in hypersexual behaviors. The university's assistant professor of forest pathology, Matt Casson, told Science Daily in 2019. So they're not recent. These sex-crazed zombie insects have been around for a couple of years, but they're only just part of Brood X. How many broods were there before Brood X? And I'm not sure if that is a picture of somebody there poking a pole in a zombie sex-crazed insect nest. A young girl, let's read the headline. A young girl uses a pole to knock periodical cicadas out of the tree as they molt around their family home. What are they molting? Are their genitals falling off? Interesting choice of a photograph there. But anyway, they are zombies in the sense that the fungus is in control of their bodies, he says. And again, if that fungus could be transmitted to humans, would we be controlled in a zombie-like state where our genitals and butts fall off? But the cicadas, unable to reproduce, instead spread the fungus with air spores looking like salt falling as they beat their wings, leading to the flying salt shakers of death nickname. So how are they sex crazed without genitals? Makes no sense to me. I don't understand at all what they're trying to pass on with this. But scientists have studied the mass Asperger's effects on these insects since the mid-19th century, but are looking with renewed interest because of the emergence of Brood X. And again, who called it Brood X? Did the insects sort of roll into town like a gang and start graffitiing up the walls with their gang signs and logos and leaving messages to let you know, yo, homie, we're the zombie insects, we're Brood X, we're in control now, we're the new kids on the block. Sorry about that, guys. But again, who called them Brood X? It had to be the scientists. Oh, this is Brood X. They're zombie sex-crazed insects. But anyway, the university's Brian Lovett told the Washington Post this week that the renewed interest had arose. But while fever... it's very small. While fewer than 10% are likely to be infected, that will still be a lot, given that trillions are expected to emerge across New York and 14 other. How can they depict in with such accuracy that these sex-crazed cicadas are going to descend not only on New York but 14 other states? You know, did these insects pick out a travel guide? Listen, guys, we're going to invade North America this year. Any particular states of interest you want to visit and infect with our sex-crazed fungus spores? Or is this the fact that DARPA and their Insect Ally project have created these sex-crazed, fungus-ridden zombie insects and are going to release them in 14 states? And who knows what rampaging, rambunctious antics these sex-crazed zombie insects will carry out in these 14 states and what effect they will have on humanity. So although there is an awful lot of humor to this particular article, scientists, again, believe scientists if you choose to, they're not always willing to be trusted, especially if they are scientists that are on the payroll of the deep state, which will pass off false science as actual science to help perpetuate the controlled narrative of whatever particular psychological operation is going on. But as I said, guys, I brought you a lot of interesting information regarding DARPA and their involvement with developing insect-sized drones and genetically modified insects. And are these zombie fucking insects that are sex-crazed a product of DARPA's Insect Allies project research? And did they perfect the research? And is this, what they are about to distribute on us? Or are these alternatively part of the insect drone project in experimentation over there at DARPA, and they've been loaded up with a psychedelic fungus spore as their payload of delivery? Let me know what you think, guys. As I said, it is all out apocalypse. Are we going to get an insect invasion apocalyptic event at the same time? But alien insects, zombie insects, there's two references to insects. We've already spoken extensively about aliens. We did a whole week, a trilogy of series rather, on zombie-related information and our reality. And are we about also to see an insect apocalyptic event added to the All Out Apocalypse real life role playing psychological Operation False Flag event that the deep state seem to be having so much amusement with? But the amount of these behavior modifying chemicals, and again, behavior modifying, they want to modify the behavior of humanity, and this is indeed what the pandemic has done. It's modified the behavior. We now have to behave in a certain way. We have to social distance if we want to go outside, whether or not we agree to it, we're affected by it. If we want to choose to wear a mask or not, we are affected by it. Either way, our behavior has been changed, and they continue to behave it. And are these insects, as I said, a product of DARPA? And are they being purposely distributed into 14 states to deliver a payload of behavioral modifying chemicals in the form of psychedelic spores carried by zombie insects that are also sex-crazed but don't have genitals? But if you were to eat them, it would be such a tiny dose that you wouldn't be able to feel a thing. And again, if this fungus was transmitted to humans and it did have the same effect as it does on the insect, made us lose our genitals but made us carry on like nothing's happened, we wouldn't be able to reproduce. And don't forget, guys, the deep state do like their depopulation agenda, and the all-out apocalypse, I believe, is part and parcel of that depopulation, and they are depopulating us slowly and surely, maybe not in one swift swoosh as is depicted often in the realms of science fiction and books, comics, and movies, TV shows, and such forth. But this is being unraveled in our reality. All the things from fiction is becoming a real threat to society, and I'm not going to rule anything out at this juncture in time regarding the deep state and their agendas and plans to depopulate the world to create a utopia and a one world order for a select few that remain on planet Earth to enjoy and live in. Obviously, there will be an elite structure and they're going to need a few people around in order to pull the levers and press the buttons that the robots can't do. But nonetheless, somebody previously told Science Daily that it was a maybe if you were motivated enough, while warning there are other compounds that might be harmful to humans. I wouldn't take that risk. I'm guessing that's about trying to take as many of these psychedelic fungus spores carried by these insects to get you high. A little bit like kind of people used to lick hallucinogenic toads and stuff. But he said that in his research, the sex-crazed creatures made him love them. And again, was that part of the psychedelic spores being released? They got you all loved up a little bit like ecstasy did, or as they're calling it these days, Molly stroke MDMA. But they still scared the scientist, and they fall down his shirt or walk up his neck. But I can appreciate something that spends almost 2 decades underground to 6 weeks of bliss with or without the fungus, he told the outlet. Sorry guys, those words are getting smaller and smaller and my eyes are squinting more. I'm not sure again if that is another one of those sex crazed zombie insects or not, but it was seen in Chevy Chase, not Chevy Chase, the comedic National Lampoon former SNL comedian, but Chevy Chase, a town and city in Maryland. Again, interesting choice, CC 33, and a periodical cicada. I think that is actually the end of the article. My apologies, as I said, I did get a little bit squinty at the end of that. The words did get smaller and smaller. Is there anything of interest at the bottom that we might want to click in? No, there isn't. So there you go. There was our first zombie related article, although it wasn't zombies in the sort of undead human flesh eating walking corpse sense. It was zombie related insects, but the zombie shit doesn't stop there with just sex crazed insects that have psychedelic fungus spores that make you feel loved up and make your butt and genitals fall off. No, there are more interesting zombie related articles to come, so stay tuned guys. We'll be back almost instantly with our next zombie related All Out Apocolypse article from the last few weeks. So next up in All Out Zombie part of our feature presentation comes from Live Science, and the headline reads, Zombie mink slaughtered due to coronavirus are rising from mass grave. Now, were they zombie minks before they were slaughtered, or were they slaughtered and then become zombie minks? But again, here we see the terminology zombie being used in conjunction with animals. And are they using either insects or animals as the reason or cause or distribution device, sorry I struggled with that word there, the distribution device that will deliver the zombie virus to humanity. Bear in mind guys, back in the days, early days of coronavirus, before it was rebranded and relabeled COVID-19, it was alleged that it was spread from a bat in Wuhan. Some individual went out to a Wuhan wet market, bought some bat soup, caught COVID-19, and then somehow in the first few weeks of his contraction of this virus managed to infect enough people that would come in contact with presidents and actors like Tom Cruise, sporting superstars, and even good old thunder cunt Greta Thunberg. She caught COVID in the early days, if you remember, as they were pushing the narrative in those the beginning of this false flag psychological Operation All Out Apocalyptic event that is playing out in real time. But as I said, back to real life science, and zombie meat slaughtered due to coronavirus are rising from mass graves, and that is what zombies in the movies do. They rise up from the grave, or in a lot of them they do. Some of them are sort of not explained how the zombies come to be in a zombie state. But there is a photograph of a man in a suit in I'm not sure if or not there are those white bags you're seeing are bags of slaughtered minks, and I can only imagine if they are bags of slaughtered minks, there must be an awful lot of minks in each and every one of those bags, because minks are not very big, and probably in the size of the photograph they might be as large as possibly the man's foot. So imagine how many minks are in each and every one of those bags, and you can't really see the end of the line of the bags. Were these minks being held in captivity because they were using their fur for coats for the elites? What were all these minks doing? How many, look how many dead minks they are there that were slaughtered. And as I said, were they zombie minks before they were slaughtered, or were they slaughtered and become zombie minks? But let's see what the article's got to say about them. And it says there, a man in a hazmat suit, this is in regard to the photograph we were just looking at, walks past ditches and bags of calcium oxide as members of Danish health authorities, assisted by the Danish armed forces, dispose of dead mink in a military area. And again, why is it in a military area, and why are mink being slaughtered in military areas? Were they carrying out experiments on minks and infecting them with the zombie virus, hoping that they might then go into the wild and eventually distribute that virus to humans? So it isn't bags of minks, it's bags of calcium oxide. But again, there is an awful lot of bags of calcium oxide. And how much calcium oxide do you need to bury slaughtered minks, and what is the purpose of it? But last year Denmark culled millions of farmed minks, and again, farmed, they were farming the minks, they weren't wild minks. And what were they being farmed for? Possibly coats and clothing, I would imagine. I don't think people eat mink meat. That's a funny sounding thing, mink meat. Have you ever eaten mink meat? Might be something you might refer to a vagina. Hey baby, can I go down on your mink meat? Certainly in the days when minks, when vaginas were more furry, although I think that trend is coming back now. But they culled millions of farmed minks, sorry, I digressed, after coronavirus infections broke out amongst the animals. And again, saying that we heard how cats, or we didn't look at the article, but there was an article or linked to an article suggesting that cats spread coronavirus, and they might be asymptomatic carriers of that 99% survival rate disease. And we've also heard before mentioned cats, and in particular the fact that the Simpsons referenced a hoax virus called cat flu a little while ago, and also in that episode we saw how it was the elites and the mainstream media as a collective that come up with that idea, just as they did with coronavirus. But they're saying that coronavirus is breaking out in animals, and in particular it broke out with millions and millions of mink that Denmark had to cull. However, and again, this is the zombie narrative being included in association with coronavirus. Did the coronavirus infected mink that happened to be culled and buried in a military facility in Denmark contain a gene that will indeed turn people into zombies, one of those mutated strains that they're force feeding down our throats? But in the following months, hastily buried mink carcasses began rising up from the ground and were propelled skyward by gases seeping from their decomposing flesh, according to news reports. And again, it's not something that normally happens with buried mink. I've never seen mink exploding out of the air and being propulsed into the sky as a result of gases seeping from their dead bodies. Interesting, right? But in November of 2020, Danish authorities announced a plan to cull all farmed mink in the country after more than 200 farms reported SARS-CoV-2 infections amongst their animals. Over 200 mink farms. But Live Science previously reported that the virus which causes COVID-19 in humans had picked up mutations while spreading among the mink. And the Danish authorities worried that the mutant virus might spill over into humans and worsen the pandemic. I mean, goodness, it would worsen the pandemic immensely if imagine humans that died as a result of COVID-19 were then buried only for their bodies to fill with gas and then to be propulsed out of the ground into the air. Can you imagine how terrifying that would be? Almost kind of scarier, I guess, than zombies slowly digging their way out from the graves. I wonder how they get out of the coffins exactly that are nailed down. But still, they do seem to crawl out of the ground in the movies in sort of slowly with the sort of rigor mortis effect, shuffle around and eventually catch humans and eat them. Although if you really did have a slow-paced zombie outbreak, you could just walk at a steady pace and evade them. And it's not exactly difficult to do. But they were very, very worried that this mutated strain of COVID-19 that was reported in 200 mink farms in Denmark might spread to humans. Again, using animals as the delivery device. But the other area to be concerned about is having this virus spill into an animal host that becomes a regional or local reservoir for viral infections. Jonathan Runstandler, a professor in the Department of Infectious Diseases and Global Health at the Tufts University Cummings School of Veterinary Medicine in Massachusetts, told NBC News in December a few thousand mink escape Danish farms each year. So some infected mink could have potentially ventured into the wild and passed the virus to other animals. Oh no, what if it is passed to humans and they get the zombie mink virus? We've already got to worry about the sex-crazed zombie insects, guys. We don't want to be having to worry and fend off zombie mink that are exploding from the ground and descending into the air. But that is the end of that article, or is it not? No. But citing these concerns, the Danish government issued its order in early November 2020, and by November the 25th, mink on all 289 affected farms, it's grown to 289 from 200 in a paragraph, look. Mink farms and farms within an assigned zone. And again, what was that assigned zone exactly? Was it a military assigned zone or an experimental assigned zone where they distributed infected mink to the environment? But they were all culled according to the good old reliable World Health Organization. And most of roughly 17 million mink carcasses, that's an awful lot of mink carcasses, and I'm pretty sure they removed the fur from those 17 million mink carcasses, because I would like to think that 17 million mink carcass furs and skins would be quite a lot of money to be burning up in the ground. Imagine how much profit that would generate with 17 million mink furs to make coats with in mufflers and hats and such forth. But due to the limited capacity, only 4 million mink were instead buried in military areas in Western Denmark. It'd be very interesting to know as to why they were buried in military areas for whatever specific reason that may be. One of the mass graves lies near a swimming lake and the other near a drinking water source. That's a very conveniently placed position to dispose of decomposing infected mink that may explode into the air, because who knows, once they've been propulsed into the air, where they come down, maybe in the lake and contaminate the drinking water source. This raised concern of water contamination, I was just pointing out there, from local residents, and Reuters reported, and not long after their initial burial, that the mink carcasses had indeed began poking up through the ground, like a scene pulled from a bad zombie flick, again using fiction to reference reality. The NB News reported on that incident. But in result to this disaster, the Danish government decided to evacuate the mass mink graves starting in May 2021. And that plan is now finally underway, according to a report from Reuters. And per the plan, the 4 million mink will be dug up and buried at, interestingly enough, 13 central heating plants around Denmark by mid-July. And again, why are they buried them on a military assigned zone, and all of a sudden, yeah, let's dig them up and put them in a central heating plant. And again, put in these sort of mass graves near a swimming lake and a water source. You've got to question what was the logic behind that decision that the Danish government made. And you can only imagine that it was a purposeful decision in order to put these contaminated carcasses close to a source of water, so it could be further distributed, or at least the official narrative could be used as that reason for the spread of any potential mutated mutated zombie mink, rather, variants of COVID-19. But that was originally published on Life Science, and I believe that is the end of that one. Oh, look, there's some more alien related articles there. These worker ants drag their queen off to bachelor pads to mate. I'm pretty sure they don't. But nevertheless, that was the latest, another article related to zombies that have been out in the recent weeks since our first stream, All Out Apocolypse. But the zombie shit isn't done with just insect zombies and insect minks. No, guys. We've got some more zombies to contend with in the All Out Apocolypse, as we are about to look at yet another zombie-related article to have come out since that first All Out Apocolypse stream over a month ago. And we are going to look at that right now. So next up in our zombie threat to contend with, as the deep state do seem to be rolling out a zombie agenda, it would seem, in recent weeks to add to the all-out apocalyptic events that seem to be heading our way. Texas homeowners need to beware of dangerous zombie trees, guys, created by the February freeze. So it isn't enough that we have to contend with sex-crazed zombie insects that carry psychedelic hallucinogenic spores on their bodies. We also have to beware of zombie minks exploding from gases and being propulsed out of the ground into the air. We also have zombie trees to be cautious and wary of. And how on earth the February freeze caused zombie trees, one can only wonder, and I'm pretty sure that this Southern Living article won't really give us that many revelations. Again, Day of the Triffids comes to mind. Plants that feasted upon human flesh and also caused by deadly spores. And that story also had a rare asteroid event or comet that flew by that caused almost everybody who looked at it to go blind. And we just recently this week had a blood red moon solar or lunar eclipse type deal that who knows what calamity that will cause in the weeks and days to follow, just as we're finding out that the February freeze that affected many Texans, a very bizarre and freak occurrence of weather weather manipulation down there in the One Star State. It didn't just cause you problems then, it's created zombie trees, but they are trees that are dead and just don't know it yet, according to Megan Overdeep. Interesting name, and this come out May the 18th 2021. I'm not sure if that's a video of the zombie trees or not. We'll read the article and come back and see if it is. But it's been months since the deadly winter storm laid siege to parts of Texas back in February, and homeowners still aren't out of the woods. You better beware down there, guys. We've got especially JBG, Martha, Elmel, little Anika. I haven't seen her for a while, but there are a few of our Texan Connection viewers down there. You've got to be aware. Zombie trees, guys, they're dead, but they just don't know it. Even with utilities long since restored and summer just around the corner, however, experts are warning that there might be another horror on the horizon for the survivors of the historic freeze. And there were actually an awful lot of survivors of the freeze. In fact, I don't think there were that many casualties of the freeze at all, although I can recall there were one or two reports of people that unfortunately lost their life during that period. But for the most part, it wasn't exactly a very apocalyptic or deadly deep freeze, as the fear-mongering suggested language presents here in this article. But you've got to beware, because zombie trees, guys, they're on their way to Texas. Who knows, they might start to descend into other neighboring states. But Matt Perry, an arborist who works with Davy Tree, explained to the Houston Chronicle, not all the trees killed by the extreme winter weather appear to be dead. They are trees that are dead, they just don't know it yet. Again, the deeper explanation into dead trees aren't dead, but they are dead, but they just don't know it, would be quite appreciated, I think. But they decline with crippling health or safety issues that are not visible to the untrained eye. And I'm guessing the majority of you down there in Texas will have untrained eye towards zombie trees, because this is the first we're ever hearing about zombie trees. So how you would gain an expert eye for such things, because you do need at least 10,000 hours of experience to be classified as an expert in anything. So this is brand new. Has there even been enough hours for you to obtain expertise in the subject of zombie trees? My goodness, look at us rhyming. We could almost be a rapper. But while it could be years before these so-called zombie trees reveal themselves, how on earth do they know that there are zombie trees if it could be years before they reveal themselves? He told the paper that he expects rather most to begin showing signs of death in the heat of July and August. And again, is this planting the seed for some maybe frequency or unseen silent weaponry that may deteriorate the health of trees in Texas, right? If they can predict in July and August the heat's going to cause zombie trees, is that because they know that in July and August they're going to be using devices and technology that will bring on the signs of death in trees? And again, the climate change agenda also could be supported by zombie trees dying in July. And oh my God, the zombie trees died so many. Now we've got even more climate concerns to add to our list of ever-growing woes that the deep state are rolling out as the one world order unfurls. But some will be salvageable. How can they be salvageable if they're dead? But others will pose a threat to people and property and should be removed. How I can understand, maybe dead trees falling over onto property and causing damage to structure and such forth. I mean, again, that could cause a threat to people if you happen to be sort of under a tree that fell down. But it wouldn't you'd have a little bit of forewarning, I think, that the tree was falling, and they're not exactly, they can be big, but you could pretty much sort of move out of the way of a falling tree pretty quickly. Again, unless, of course, they are going to be zombie trees like that from the days of the Triffids that can sort of uproot and move around and feast upon people. And they also, I think, had deadly spores that they admitted that caused people to fall under some influence, not necessarily psychedelic, but a kind of sort of induced insomnia. Not insomnia, induced sort of sleep type symptoms. But it's been a while since I've read Day of the Triffids, and I did watch the BBC TV series a few years back with particular interest. I might have to rewatch it again to see what it's all about. But sorry, in Texas, A&M Forest Service experts told KTRK TV that oaks in particular have had a hard time recovering from the frigid weather, which is a little bit bizarre, because we have oak trees here in Canada, and for months on end we have frigid weather that doesn't seem to cause that much effect. Maybe they're a little bit more acclimated down south to warmer climates, but trees are pretty resilient, and as I said, they seem to sort of withstand the weather here in Canada. Wouldn't wonder why they don't survive so much in Texas. But according to Petty, the vascular symptoms in some trees that are exposed to extremely cold temperatures can essentially become freeze-dried, and that's when fungus and insects move in. Maybe the fungus, the sex-crazed zombie insects might move into the dead zombie trees and infect them with their spores, and maybe some of the dead mink that were buried in some of those bizarre sites in Denmark might also somehow affect the root system of oak trees. But imagine you have a straw and you're sucking on a milkshake, he explained to the Houston Chronicle, and suddenly that straw collapses. The calamity, the humanity of the collapsed milkshake drinking straw. My goodness, I wonder if that milkshake is the same milkshake that would bring all the boys to town. Let me know if you think it is. But there aren't clear-cut guidelines for identifying a zombie tree. Instead, experts say you've got to use your gut. So Texans down there, please go out, use your gut, and I encourage you to try and capture some footage, photographs or video of anything you consider to be a potential zombie tree. Martha, in particular, go out and become a zombie tree hunter. That could be your YouTube channel. I'd subscribe and tune in to listen to that. But we all probably know what a good-looking tree looks like. Kurt Smith, another Davy Tree arborist, told KTRK TV, you probably drew one in kindergarten. Of course we did. But we all have that idea. Hey, that's a pretty tree, or something doesn't look right. If you suspect your property is host to a zombie tree, it's best to reach out to a professional. They will be able to provide a diagnosis and a course of action. And I'm pretty sure they won't be doing that for free. So again, guys, please, those of you in Texas, I really, really would appreciate, just maybe even for satirical purposes, any footage you can provide of potential zombie trees. Martha, look out your window now, see if they're creeping up on you. But it finishes up by saying, be careful out there, yo. So I encourage you to be careful, guys. Always be careful. I'm not sure how much of a legitimate threat zombie trees are to your health and safety, but Southern Living certainly does seem to think you so. So should we see if there is a video? Maybe this will help you guys recognize a zombie tree. Remember the fires in Paradise where the trees were burning from the inside out? again, I'm just wondering how many people are just going to start going out and chainsawing trees because of this article, because they think they may be zombie trees. So use your guts, text and roses, and let me know if you encounter any potential zombie trees on your escapades. So that, again, was another threat of the zombie variety heading our way, apparently in July and August. So stay tuned. We will probably have to do an update on zombie trees around that time to see what's going on with them. But if zombie insects that are sex crazed and carry hallucinogenic spores wasn't enough, we've also had zombie minks that are, due to exploding gases, get propulsed out of the ground. We have not only zombie trees to contend with, you never guess what's next on the zombie agenda list of things to be scared of in 2021, as we are about to find out next here at Reality Decoded, as All Out Apocolypse Part 2 continues. So those of y'all that guessed zombie fires would be also a threat to humanity, as according to the deep state, you would have won yourself a prize. But yes, we've got zombie insects, we've got zombie minks, and we've got zombie trees, and we also have zombie fires to contend with, as the zombie threats just do not quit. And according to Yahoo News, zombie fires could become more common due to climate change, a new study suggests. And I'm pretty sure that good old Greta Thundercunt Thunberg will be wetting her vegan-friendly knickers at the prospect of zombie fires having a impact on her climate change narrative. How dare you, zombie trees, have an impact on my future that you're stealing from me? Part of the cycle of these trees. Sorry, what have I done there? My apologies there. Wildfires are actually, oh my goodness, we clicked on something that I've shouldn't have clicked on, but nevertheless, let's read the article before we come back and see what that video is all about. So Yahoo News starts out by saying climate change may be bringing forest fires back from the dead after a long winter buried underground, according to a new study. Do forest fires bury themselves underground for the winter, or are they caused by dry in warm conditions, or maybe a discarded cigarette butt that wasn't responsibly stubbed out prior to its being discarded that then generated a forest fire? Or are they caused by directed energy weaponry controlled by the deep state? I'm pretty sure I've never heard of forest fires burying themselves underground, but however, they are calling them zombie forest fires, a fire that smolders beneath the surface during the winter and regenerates when temperatures warm. And again, just how hot would that fire have had to have been burning for them to smolder throughout the duration of the winter, only to reheat themselves and reignite themselves rather once the weather gets warmer? And again, I think of back to a certain September Tuesday morning in 2001, and for the months and 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 months after the that event, there was still burning and smoldering ashes and debris under that under the surface there at ground zero that did go through a winter and rainfall and such forth, and was unable to be extinguished. And again, I do have an awful lot of reason to believe that that was the effect of the directed energy weaponry that was used on that day to disintegrate those towers. Although, if or not you did tune in and catch Ghostbusters Decoded, there might be a potential plausibility to consider that we may have witnessed a live on TV interdimensional event taking place. If you haven't watched Ghostbusters Decoded, I would suggest you do so, because it provides an awful lot of information that will open your eyes to a new potential 9/11 theory. But zombie fires, as we've just read, there are fires that allegedly smolder beneath the surface during the winter. And again, how hot would a naturally generated fire need to be to burn and smolder for that long underground during winter months, rainfall, possibly frost and snow, depending on where they are in the world? It just doesn't seem very plausible, logical, or even truthful to me. But let me know if you have any experience or examples of such things occurring. But while forest fires are typically viewed in the context of a single fire season, researchers at the Verge University of Amsterdam, actually, shall we say that in a Dutch accent? The Verge University in Amsterdam. That was a terrible Dutch accent. My apologies. I used to be very much better speaking Dutch, because I spent lots of times in Amsterdam as a youngster. We'd like to smoke a spliff, have a pancake. But how much zombie fires contribute to fire activity, and whether they are connected to climate change, Rebecca Scholten, an Earth system scientist at that university and co-author of the new study published Wednesday in Nature, told ABC News. Let me know if you've ever heard of zombie fires prior to this article. And there's actually quite a few articles circulating. I know Maiden shared one of them to our little admin chat over on Messenger, but there were a whole variety of zombie fire related articles doing the rounds in the last couple of weeks, a few of which I did share myself, or a couple of which I did share myself to the Reality Decoded group on Facebook and to my newsfeed over there. But researchers looked at boreal forests in the northern hemisphere, namely Alaska and Canada, which contain deciduous trees and conifers that burn really well and intensely and deep into the soil, she said. And they found that zombie or overwintering fires were more likely to follow warmer summers despite high altitudes and cold, wet winters. Again, I live in Canada. I'm pretty sure, even in the summer months, when I've had many of fire pits that eventually they smolder out and don't reignite themselves. They certainly don't smolder through the 8 months of winter, in some instances like sub-zero months on end of winter. To survive, to reburn. Maybe the same spot gets reignited, but was it the same fire that just buried itself underground and smoldered throughout winter to re-emerge in the form of a zombie fire? But despite the high altitudes and all that stuff, these fires are able to survive with conditions such as deep organic soil and a warming climate, which allows the fires to burn even deeper and sustain for longer, according to the study. But maybe fires caused as a result of directed energy weaponry might be the reason that those fires burn longer in colder and wetter conditions, as opposed to natural fires, which do seem to sort of go out and have difficulty lighting in such conditions. But they occur more often and more frequently after years of hot summers and warm temperatures, Scholten said, adding that the increased number of overwintering fires is really due to climate change. Of course it is. It's not a lie if you believe it. And I'm pretty sure Greta Thunberg, as we've already mentioned, will be all up in arms about these overwinter zombie fires. But there is a photo of 3 temporal stages of an overwintering fire in Alaska. CC Carl Churchill, 33, of the Woodwell Climate Research Center provides us there. Wow, look at that. That is now I believe it. Now I've seen those pictures. There's evidence enough. Look at that. I hope your eyes are opened to the truth of zombie fires now after seeing those pictures provided by CC33 Carl Churchill. But overwintering fires can account for up to a third of the total burn area, according to the study. But during the study period between 2002 and 2018, zombie fires were responsible for just 0.8% of the total burn. So are they really a threat? I mean, this is straight from the corona COVID virus narrative. It has a 0.8 fatality rate, or less than a 0.8 fatality rate. And now these zombie fires that are a big concern and being researched in the University of Amsterdam have only a 0.8% responsibility for all total burned areas. So is that even a cause for concern in regard to the climate change agenda? I don't think that's very damaging at all. But if an ignition occurs such from a lightning strike, that number could easily grow to 10% in 1 year. And again, what caused the lightning to strike? Was it a natural element, or was it man-made lightning? And again, we've looked at all the technology and devices and provided patterns for such technology that can do just that, manipulate and create its own weather. The authors noted that though zombie forest fires are relatively rare in boreal forests, they may become more common as the climate change increases temperatures around the globe. And again, this is seed planting, guys, are just providing the deep state narrative in agenda in advance for us to absorb slowly and surely. So by the time they want to roll out that, oh my goodness, we've got to worry about zombie forest fires this year, guys. Stay at home in social distance from the fires. We only just managed to flatten the curve of zombie minks infecting society last week, but we need to shut down again because of the spread of zombie fires, and as a result of climate change. But Scholten was very doubtful that these types of fires even existed before she started on the research, she said. And I'm not sure they even exist now, even though we are reading, or we're not actually reading the research, we're just reading a report that tells us that there was research done. And I'm guessing, again, she is a deep state employee that is being paid exactly to say these things, to create the illusion that zombie fires are a threat and a thing that does exist, just like COVID-19 doesn't really exist. Only the fear of its existence is the threat to humanity. But the biggest surprise for her herself was that these fires do exist. Of course they do, not a lie if you believe it. And fires actually do manage to smolder under snow for 8 or 9 months in winter and start a new fire. I'm pretty sure they don't, unless, again, I've been ignorant to such things. But I'm not sure if you guys out there watching, and I'm pretty sure there's only going to be about 6 or 7 of you live at the moment. Let me know if any one of you have ever experienced such an event happening, a fire that's smoldered for 8 or 9 months under snow. Goodness, where on earth would you carry out that experiment where you would be guaranteed 9 months of snow? Maybe in Antarctica, perhaps. And again, perhaps if you had the technology to ensure that those fires continued to smolder under 8 or 9 months worth of snow, then you could guarantee their success. Not sure what that is. Looks like the Aurora Borealis rather than a zombie fire, but maybe that is flames caused by zombie fires that burn green. That actually would have made quite a nice thumbnail for something there. And it is a photo of the aurora glows in the sky over a forest in Churchill, Manitoba, Canada. However, it isn't ablaze with a zombie fire, which would have been probably more appropriate to support the claims of this article on zombie fires. But it's unclear where the term zombie fire originated. But she said she started seeing the term pop up in the media last year. Weekly Science magazine reported in June that it was the new and catchier name for an old and relatively rare phenomenon. Zombie apocalypse, zombie agenda. We've seen zombie insects, minks, trees, and fires. I honestly don't know who invented the term, but I think he or she was a genius. Really? That qualifies as being a genius, calling a rare phenomenon, a relatively rare phenomenon, we will add, as zombie fires. My goodness, maybe they get a Nobel Peace Prize for that contribution to humanity. But my guess is it was a deep state Tavistokian think tank that come up with the term and presented it as a potential false flag threat to humanity and providing fuel for the climate change narrative. But we're not done, guys. There is one last zombie related article before we do start to wrap this up, but we do have a little asteroid related news report to bring you, just to bring it all in to full circle, because those were all things we did include in the first All Out Apocalypse stream, and they are all things that have also had their own standalone streams. Asteroids, aliens, and zombies have all featured as singular content for presentations here at Reality Decoded. But All Out Apocalypse is a little bit like an all-you-can-eat buffet of deep state related propaganda and seed plantation for future false flag events, and I try to provide you with a little bit of information on all the subjects that were covered in that first All Out Apocalypse stream. And I will reiterate for those of you who don't necessarily always pay attention to these presentations or streams or ship video productions in the past, that these are all things that I have spoken about for quite some considerable time, and have provided you with information at least a year in advance before some of these articles are doing the rounds on mainstream platforms. But as I said, guys, one last zombie related article to look at before we check out some asteroid news and wrap this long All Out Apocalypse Part 2 feature presentation live stream to an end. But it is probably the most disturbing zombie apocalypse news report from the last few weeks. So here we are at the National Post, guys, with, as I said, the most disturbing zombie-related article I've seen in recent weeks. And why it is so disturbing, because it does provide us with a seed plantation of a zombie gene in the human brain that can come active after death, according to neuroscientists that are probably on the deep state payroll and have been paid to come up with this research that suggests such a thing exists. But I did also recently catch another related article similar to this, but in the case that it was zombie snails, although I haven't been able to find that article that I did want to include in this All Out Apocalypse, because we've got insects, snails, trees, fires, but now we are hearing that neuroscientists have actually discovered a zombie gene in the human brain. So let's see what they've got to say on that. And my apologies for not bringing you the zombie snails. And also at the moment, at time of recording, I'm almost thinking, shit, I need to go and fucking find the zombie snails to add to this presentation. If not, I do, I will wait and see. But at the moment, let's concentrate on the zombie gene in the human brain. The growth in cells was mostly noted in the groups of glial cells, which are responsible for carrying out post-mortem maintenance. And there is a picture of something or other that might be the zombie gene growing tentacles and busies itself with post-death cleanup work in the brain tissue. And this is a photo from Dr. Jeffrey Loeb. It wasn't clicked by Jeffrey Loeb, unfortunately. I wonder if he's a netizen. But once a human dies, so does their body. We might assume, and we've always assumed and have been led to believe that is the case until now, where all major systems that shut down muscles gradually atrophy, and all organs, including the brain, are rendered obsolete. However, as I said, until now, researchers have provided us with new information from the University of Illinois, and they have discovered, it turns out, that some cells in the human brain don't take kindly to being told that their services are no longer needed, and instead grow in size and ramp up their activity for hours after death. And again, are these cells naturally generated organisms of the human body, or are these nanotechnology genetically modified cells that have been made airborne in a absolutely tiny, the size of particles, that we could or could not potentially breathe in? Or could they be administered and distributed via test swabs and vaccines that would, render themselves dormant while you are still alive, but once you die, start to regenerate, and who knows, may turn you into a walking corpse. I'm not sure what that girl's up to there. But scientists studying samples of brain tissues collected during routine brain surgery watched as these cells, aptly named zombie genes, sprouted tentacles and went on to clean things up in the brain for several hours post-mortem. Only glial, however you pronounce that, cells, inflammatory cells that support the neurons, were observed carrying out these post-mortem maintenances, the research wrote in their study. And the glial, or those cells that I can't read, enlarge after death isn't too surprising, given that they are inflammatory and their job is to clean things up after brain injuries like oxygen deprivation or a stroke. Jeffrey Loeb, a technician, or a neurologist rather, at the University of Illinois and corresponding author on the paper, said in a news release. Most previous work on neurological gene expression and brain disorders have been done on brain tissues that have been dead for 12 hours or more. However, Loeb and his team, noticing difference between the global pattern of activity in fresh human brain tissues versus older tissues, decided to run a simulated death experiment. That's a daunting prospect there. What exactly how do you simulate a death experiment? Do you do that in the virtual world, or do you use an unwilling victim test subject to carry out that experimenting? But he carried out a simulated death experiment to observe the level of activity in the brain immediately after it was declared dead to about a day post-mortem. And they used samples of recently collected dead tissues which had been kept at room temperature to replicate the post-mortem interval. There are some more photographs that will provide you some evidence, I guess, of the tentacle growing zombie genes that come to life after death. But about 80% of these genes analyzed in the brain remained relatively stable for 24 hours, researchers reported, which include genes that provide the basic cellular functions of the brain. Another group of genes connected to the human brain activity, such as memory, thinking, and seizure activity, however, quickly degraded after death. However, as the neuronal genes slowed, the zombie genes ramped up their activity, and researchers found this pattern in postmortem changes continued for several hours, peaking at about 12 hours. So, that's something that happens in the zombie movies and in the zombie genre. A contaminated corpse or somebody who's been bitten by a zombie will eventually die, and it will only be a sort of matter of time before they reanimate, get up, and start shuffling around or running around, depending on what type zombie they are, and feast on human flesh. And is this the seed plantation? Is this the sort of Dawn of the Dead Genesis moment here, where scientists are confirming that, oh yeah, there are genes in the human body that will cause zombie effects? And again, is that an actual biological mutation of cells, or is this the result of genetically modified cells, or maybe drugs administered into the body involuntary that will become active once we die? But the discovery, Loeb said, could change the way research studies use postmortem brain tissues to research cures for mental illnesses such as Alzheimer's and schizophrenia, and developmental disorders such as autism. Most studies assume that everything in the brain stops when the heart stops beating, but this is not so, Loeb said. Our findings will be needed to interpret research on human brain tissues. We just haven't quantified these changes until now. The good news from their findings, however, is that we now know which genes and cell types are stable, which degrade, and which increase over time. So that results from postmortem brain studies can be better understood, he said. So that's a good thing, I guess. And that is the end of that article. And although I really do want to go out and try and find the zombie snail article that I saw a little week ago that I sometimes somehow lost, or it is probably in amongst the many open tabs I've got on information that I've been looking at, that I have ideas, plans, and intentions to maybe put into presentation form for future streams. But we will wrap it up there on the zombie agenda, guys, because as I said, that was possibly the most disturbing of all the articles I read. That the fact that neuroscientists, I'm not saying they've proven that this zombie gene exists within the human body, but they are suggesting and providing the seed plantation for potential zombie apocalypse outbreaks. This is seed planting. This is what it is all about, and it just sort of is following on from the CDC's reemergence of their zombie preparedness awareness information on their website, and it does just go to show that there was possibly a purpose for the saturation of zombie-related fiction in movies, TV, books, and comics in the last 10, 15, even 20 years of the 21st century. But as I said, guys, we are going to try and wrap this up after we've had a little look at an asteroid-related article, just to complete our All Out Apocalypse special stream part 2 content and ingredients. So stay tuned, guys, because that's what's coming up next.
Blast off to the Red Planet for signs of past survival, the mysteries of the cosmos.
That's an age-old enigma.
Both of them.
Age-old enigma.
Astronaut Brad Cruz.
Brad Cruz. NASA is warning that not even a nuclear bomb. Did I say nuclear?
Yeah.
A nuclear bomb would stop a giant asteroid heading for Earth. In a simulated exercise, U.S. and European scientists were told they had 6 months to come up with a plan to save Earth from a giant asteroid. They determined 6 months was not enough time to prepare a spacecraft to blow it up with a nuclear bomb, like in the movie Armageddon. Simulations showed a nuke may not even put a dent in a large asteroid. So this is, encouraging news for
the footage. Well, look, if we send Bruce Willis, I'm sure he can do anything for us. Maybe we might not even need.
That's what this study just said, that he can't.
It said we can't with a nuke. It never, no mention of Bruce there. So.
That's what they basically did in Armageddon. That's the plot of Armageddon.
You're right, though. Maybe Bruce knows something that these scientists don't.
I was just hoping. Oh, go ahead, Andy.
No, I said Robert. I'm on board with Robert. They did. I don't see anywhere in that 6-month simulation that they showed Bruce Willis couldn't put a dent in a large asteroid. Just that the nuke did.
I guess.
Correct. Yeah.
Also, I want to know when Robert got on a first-name basis with Bruce.
What happens if or when an asteroid hits Earth? Cheery, I know. As we know, about 66 million years ago, that happened and wiped out 75% of all life on Earth. So, can it happen again? And if it does, do we stand a shot? Well, if you believe Hollywood, yes. Yes, we do. Because you just get a Bruce Willis or a Taya Leone onto the job. But failing that, what could we really do if or when an asteroid hits? Well, actually, let's clear something up first. An asteroid is a piece of rocky space debris that remains in space. It's called a meteorite when it survives entry into our atmosphere and hits Earth. Right. So, what happens if one does hit? Well, firstly, it's pretty unlikely. A threat-worthy asteroid hits our planet about once every 500,000 years. But if it does, one of the biggest threats to us isn't the impact itself, but the wind caused by it. Check this out. This is a meteor over Russia in 2013, the largest one seen on Earth in 100 years. It's over a place called Chelyabinsk, and nearly 1,500 people were injured. And this meteorite did not even hit the Earth, it disintegrated mid-air. But the shockwave from this destroyed heaps of buildings and injured all those people. Now, that meteor wasn't that big. It was about 20 metres wide, 60 feet. A meteor that's just 3 times as big has enough energy and force to flatten a city as big as Paris. Merde. The other thing you're going to want to look out for if a meteorite hits is the thermal radiation. That can cause widespread, insanely devastating fires. But what if it lands in the ocean? Well, it's definitely preferable, but if the meteor's big enough, the impact could cause catastrophic tsunamis. Wonderful. Scientists say the really dangerous part of an event like this would be the long-term damage, especially to crops and livestock. Dust, debris, soot from the fires, that could all block out the sun, which would then cause a so-called impact winter, which is obviously terrible news for anyone who calls Earth home. But the good news is we should get the heads up if that will happen. NASA and scientists around the world track all these big asteroids. They can predict, often years out, when one might hit. And there are a couple on their way right now to visit us. This is asteroid 99942, also known as Apophis. It is big. At 370 metres, which is more than 1,200 feet, it's bigger than 3 football fields. If that hit, it would be bad news. On Friday the 13th of April 2029, yep, really Friday the 13th, it's going to skim past Earth. It will be just 32,000 kilometres, or about 20,000 miles, from us. While that's a safe distance, it's going to come between Earth and our moon. That's wild. We'll be able to see it with our naked eyes in Australia. But scientists say we're safe from Apophis hitting us for at least 100 years. Sorry, grandkids. Let's just hope that before then we can figure out a way to knock the asteroid off course, or blow it up in space, and hope that doesn't cause a mass extinction event here on Earth. Otherwise, we will have to send Bruce Willis and Taya Leone up to sort it out.
Experts from space agencies all around the world faced a troubling hypothetical scenario. A mysterious asteroid has just been discovered 35 million miles away, and it was heading towards Earth. The space rock was expected to hit Earth in 6 months. The situation was fictional, part of an exercise that simulated an incoming asteroid in order to help us practice how to respond to such a situation. The simulation taught us a difficult lesson. If a near-Earth asteroid was spotted with that little warning, there's nothing we could do to keep it from hitting the planet. Experts said that no existing technologies could stop the asteroid from striking Earth within the 6-month window. There isn't a spacecraft capable of destroying an asteroid or pushing it off its path in that amount of time. In reality, if such an asteroid was heading for Earth, scientists would need years of warning. 5 years is the minimum. But scientists couldn't even find most of the dangerous space rocks that pass near our planet, which makes the chances slim that we would even get a 5 to 10 year warning. In 2005, the US Congress attempted to address this issue by mandating that NASA should track 90% of all near-Earth objects that are 140 meters or larger. An asteroid of that size could easily destroy a city the size of New York. But till date, NASA has only spotted about 40% of those objects. What this means is that we are relying on luck to keep us safe from major asteroid impacts. In NASA's recent simulation, scientists didn't know how big the hypothetical asteroid was until a week before it was set to hit Earth. They didn't know if the object was 35 meters or 500 meters across. And that makes a very big difference. A 35-meter asteroid could explode in the atmosphere and send shockwaves through a neighborhood, while a 500-meter asteroid could destroy an entire city. So a crucial part of stopping an asteroid from hitting Earth is understanding the asteroid. That includes its size, the path it takes around the sun, and what it's made of. With that information, scientists can evaluate strategies to dismantle the rock or disrupt its path. Ideally, scientists would be able to study a dangerous asteroid as it passes in its orbit around the sun. Observing a passing asteroid several times could take years or even decades. NASA has 3 main tools in its planetary defense. The first is to detonate an explosive device near an oncoming asteroid to break it up into smaller pieces. The second is to fire lasers that could heat up and vaporize the space rock enough to change its orbital path. The third is to send a spacecraft to slam into the asteroid, knocking it off its trajectory. NASA is about to test the last strategy. The mission is called Double Asteroid Redirection Test. It will send a probe to an asteroid in 2022 and purposefully hit it. But testing any of the 3 options would take years. That's why the timeline matters. The earlier astronomers can spot a dangerous space rock, the less ambitious a deflection mission would have to be. But of course, all of these methods are useless if nobody knows when the asteroid is coming. NASA is planning a mission to track down asteroids that are too dim for Earth telescopes. The NEO Surveyor mission would launch an infrared telescope into Earth's orbit in 2026. If we focus on finding those objects and tracking them, knowing their orbits, knowing where they're going to head, and then characterizing their sizes, then we should be in really good place to defend Earth. If the telescope launch is successful, then NASA would be able to find 90% of the most dangerous near-Earth objects.
Alright, back once again at DDG, where I have typed asteroid in the search bar, and this is the results that cropped up in the news section as a result of that. And you can see off the bat there that an asteroid the size of the Eiffel Tower will whiz past Earth next month, and that is from 5 hours ago at the time of recording. And don't worry, we're not going to read too many, if any, of these articles that have cropped up as a result of that search for asteroids. I am just using this to highlight the fact that there are quite a number of articles and reports, maybe not as many as aliens, or perhaps zombie-related Armageddon doomsday apocalyptic events. But there are a number of them nonetheless. And of course, it wasn't that long ago that NASA carried out a simulation where an Earthbound asteroid was unavoidable. Unfortunately, they couldn't do anything to prevent the fictitious simulated asteroid from crashing into Eastern Europe. We will look a little bit of an update at that, however, before we do wrap this up. But only asteroids that hit a certain mineral will trigger a mass extinction, according to the New Scientist 5 days ago. 2 asteroids that could be as big as football fields to zip past Earth, from Newsweek 10 days ago. Tardigrades fired from a gun to test a theory if asteroids seed life, was a report on New Atlas from 9 days ago. Asteroid Day TV launches on the 1st of June, kicking off the countdown to Asteroids Day 2021, which is going to take place on the 30th of June. Something to look forward to there, guys, and mark on your calendars. That is, of course, if or not by then we haven't been wiped out by one of numerous possible false flag psychological operation apocalyptic events taking place. Continuing with a list of recent articles that come up in a search for asteroids. The line is fuzzier. Asteroids and comets may be similar than we think. BGR 6 days ago, 5 asteroids will cruise by Earth in the next year, and one is coming very close. Another one that repeats 2 massive asteroids will be zipping by Earth on Tuesday. However, that was from 26 days ago, and you can kind of see a little bit of a trend: 26 days, 25 days there. The NASA simulation that was carried out, it was a failure, is being reported again on Yahoo News from 17 days ago. 5 of the most significant impact craters in North America, was a report from History Channel, although not really that related to incoming asteroids, but it does highlight some asteroids that have hit Earth in the past. A small preemptive strike against the Doomsday asteroid 4 days ago from Air and Space magazine. Asteroids 4, 27 days ago, did life on Earth come from outer space, making asteroids miniature? A giant vector graphic asteroid game from 4 days ago says that they've replaced electrons with light. Lessons learned from a simulated asteroid strike 26 days ago. The results of the 2021 asteroid impact simulation highlight threats posed by asteroids. How did you spend your week? ? NASA pretended to crash an asteroid into Earth. And again, that was from around a month ago, at the time that we did present that feature presentation live stream, All Out Apocolypse. And of course, this is part 2. So there is just a selection of results for asteroids that cropped up in the news column of DuckDuckGo, and if we just go and look what pops up on the all section of the search, not too much I think will be any different to what we've seen. What is an asteroid? Asteroids, in-depth asteroids, and a lot from NASA there, and some images that we could possibly use for future feature presentation thumbnails. So we will wrap it up by looking at one article referencing that NASA simulation, because they actually tried 7 or so times and unsuccessful each and every one of them. So we will finish up with that article before we return live to the thrift store studio, where we will get your thoughts and opinions on this feature presentation and have a live chat and discussion about similar events and such forth, and where we may be heading as 2021 continues. So NASA has led 7 asteroid impact simulations, and only once did experts figure out how to stop the space rock from hitting Earth. There is an artist's rendition of an asteroid flying by Earth. In a recent simulation, a fictitious asteroid was approaching Earth, but experts couldn't stop it. NASA has led 7 such simulations, and the participants only fully stopped the asteroid once. It shows how challenging it would be to stop an Earth-bound space rock, even with ample warning. And see more stories is a link there at the start of this article. But this is pretty much the same as the sort of article we featured in All Out Asteroids, which was carried out by NASA and all the leading space experts on Earth recently, where they simulated an asteroid strike on Earth that was an extinction level, or at least apocalyptic level impact reaction. But in a planetary defense simulation that NASA led last month, more than 200 participants from about 24 countries learned that a fictitious space rock was set to strike Earth in 6 months. They put their heads together to investigate every possible way to avoid that impact, but in the end, the group determined that no existing technologies could stop the asteroid, given limited warning time in the scenario, and it ended up raising Eastern Europe. Paul Choders, the manager of the NASA's Center for Near Earth Object Studies, helped design and host that recent simulation, as well as 5 previous exercises like it that the agency has hosted since 2013. In total, NASA has helped lead 7 asteroid impact scenarios in the last 8 years. It's almost one a year, but every one of those has had a little different bit of a twist on it, Choders told Insider. But the outcomes have, for the most part, had a worrisome similarity in all but one. At least part of the incoming space rock has hit Earth. There is a certain, morbid aspect to it. Matthew Holloman, an astronomer from Harvard University who participated in NASA's 2015 and 2019 simulations, told Insider. The simulation's grim outcomes reveal how challenging it would be to stop an Earthbound asteroid in real life, even with years of warning. But the repeated failures in these exercises, experts say, will serve as a crucial purpose. They help the world prepare for a crisis like this by teaching governments and scientists how to communicate and share information ahead of an impact. And of course, an inbound or incoming asteroid strike with the potential to be a cataclysmic extinction level event would be a unifying event that would probably see the world putting aside all their differences and global governments coming together as one in a joint effort to avert such a disaster. But Choda says practice makes perfect. The score, Asteroid 6, Humanity 1, that's not good odds to say the least, but Choda said the last month's simulation was set up for the participants to fail. It's what we call a short warning scenario, he said. It was by design and it was very challenging, but it wasn't the toughest scenario Chodas has helped to create, and not even the one with the shortest time frame. During NASA's first impact simulation done in partnership with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, aka FEMA, and we've learned all about how draconian in nature FEMA is, and the scientists and government officials had to determine what to do about the asteroid the size of the Statue of Liberty that was due to strike in just 5 weeks, the participants, much like the group last month, found themselves with little recourse given the short lead-up time. They determined it would be impossible to stop that space rock crashing into the Atlantic Ocean near Virginia. The resulting tsunami, the participants estimated, would be 50 feet high and devastate a section of the U.S. East Coast, as is the case in fictitious movies that depict asteroid strikes. Armageddon, Deep Impact, and Meteor are some of those that depict the East Coast getting demolished by a variety of symptoms caused by asteroid impacts. But it was no coincidence that NASA led the first simulation in 2013. In February of that year, a house-sized asteroid entered the atmosphere above Chelyabinsk in Russia, which we saw a glimpse of in a couple of those reports prior to reading you this one, and that real asteroid shattered windows and collapsed buildings. And I say real asteroid, it could well have been an earthbound experimentation or drill or simulation of technology that can be disguised as an asteroid for the purpose of depopulation events that can't be blamed or pointed fingers at anyone here on Earth, unless of course you could unravel the clues and follow the train to the perpetrators and the technology that was used. I believe that is a photograph of that meteor that zoomed over Russia in 2013. But the next year, NASA and FEMA tried once again. That time, the fictitious asteroid in the simulation was nearly 3 times bigger, but it was discovered about 7 years before the expected impact. The earlier a space rock is discovered, the higher chances that scientists can figure out an impact. The best tools currently available are nuclear explosives that could be detonated near an asteroid to break it into less dangerous chunks, and a spacecraft that could kamikaze into an asteroid and knock it off its trajectory, just like those kamikaze radicalized fundamentalists that were alleged to have crashed commercial airliners into the Twin Towers. That's September, Tuesday morning, 2001. But NASA is about to test that latter technology with its double asteroid redirection test, aka DART mission. In the fall of 2022, a NASA probe is set to fly to the asteroid Dimorphos and purposely hit it. And is that because, unfortunately, Dimorphos is on its way and on collision course for Earth, and they're just pretending that they're sending up the DART mission as an experiment, but really it is being sent up in order an attempt to break the asteroid up and deter it from hitting Earth. And are they sort of secretly letting us know what they're doing in the realms of simulations and drills? And be advised, guys, and be reminded that quite often some of these drills do go live, as was the case on that September Tuesday morning of 2001, where conveniently FEMA, who've been working with NASA on these simulations, happened to be in place and the exact right location down by the World Trade Center on the morning of Tuesday, September the 11th, because they were there supposedly to be carrying out a drill that was due to start on the 12th of September, where they were going to simulate a terrorist attack in the exact same place a terrorist attack happened the day before. Coincidentally convenient, wouldn't you say, guys? So is this what the DART mission is really and truly all about? Is it being sent up to deter this asteroid that may be on its way to Earth? And is the sort of deep state letting us know in advance what they are doing? And as we just highlighted, drills do sometimes go live. There's an illustration of DART. But Chodas thinks 5 years warning is the absolute minimum to successfully deploy one of these options through though other experts suggest we need at least a decade to plan, build, and launch an anti-asteroid mission from scratch. Now, I'd go out on a limb and suggest that if they carried out these started carrying out these simulations in 2013, and let's not count out how long they would possibly carry out those simulations before they made them public in 2013, that there is a slight chance that quite possibly they have some kind of plan in technology or stuff that is available to provide us with defense from an asteroid, or at least to present the appearance that they have technology that can deter an asteroid. As again, we don't necessarily have the luxury for our own personal selves, the technology or equipment necessarily required to prove an existence of an asteroid. We have to rely on, of course, the likes of Never a Straight Answer NASA for information on such things. But as I said, guys, it wouldn't go out on a limb to suggest that maybe in real life there is such a plan and a mission in sort of equipment available should this happen, hidden away in some bunker underground. But Brent Barbie, double B, Blue Beam, an aerospace engineer at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, told Insider that no spacecraft that could serve this purpose is just sitting ready to go and dance. But I'm pretty sure there might be, because they've got the DART satellite craft, look, that they're sending up next year, and you're trying to tell me they haven't built that yet. So Brent Barbie, I'm suggesting you're telling some porky pies lies there, talking some complete and utter horseshit, sunshine. But let's carry on. It has to be built on demand, Barbie said. Of course it does, not a lie if you believe it. The advance noticed in NASA's 2014 simulation enabled the participants to do just that. They sent a spacecraft to ram into the asteroid and deflect it away 2 years before it hit. And is this what the drill with the DART simulation is all about, and the purpose of it? Again, bear in mind, if you choose to believe what outer space is according to NASA, and if you can truly believe that there are such things as asteroids and stuff that are inbound towards Earth, we will have to go into the realms of simulations in hollow Earth and that sort of stuff at some point in the distant future. But even then, let's get back to this article. 164-foot chunk of the asteroid broke off because of the spacecraft's force, and the rock started heading for poor old Texas again. Actually, the Texas Gulf Coast, and 2 years wasn't enough time to launch another deflection mission to redirect that piece that broke off. So unfortunately, Earth did take a hit, and I'm guessing Texas was the victim of that simulated asteroid strike. In one simulation, an asteroid fragment wrecked New York City, just like it does in sort of almost every asteroid stroke meteorite themed fictional content. But in 2015, NASA had looped in space agencies from other countries to participate in its exercise, and the first simulation with this international group, just as we see in those fictitious movies, they have an international group of experts that work together to collaborate a plan to avoid such calamity happening. And similar to the prior years, this international group was similar to the prior years. After successfully deflecting an asteroid spotted 7 years in advance, the participants found they couldn't stop a fragment of that rock from hitting India, and it exploded with the force of a small bomb. More artist renditions. Chodas calls this outcome asteroid splitting. It is no accident splitting has appeared in multiple exercises, he said, because he thinks it's very conceivable something like that will happen. And again, if you can remember the Atari classic video game Asteroids, that's exactly what you had to do. Use a spaceship to rotate in outer space and shoot incoming asteroids. And some of the big ones you broke into smaller pieces that you then had to shoot into smaller pieces and shoot again until they finally disappeared. And if you also remember, every now and then a little UFO flying saucer popped up in that game for extra bonus points if you shot it. But ideally, Chodas added, asteroid deflection missions would be adaptable and able to retarget any unpredictable pieces that break off. But by now you're seeing the pattern. In a 2016 NASA simulation, the group was also once again unable to stop an asteroid, and even though it was spotted 4 years in advance, the 400-foot space rock would the participants estimated impact a 325 square mile area near Pasadena, California. During the 2019 exercise, experts decided to try to stop a hypothetical asteroid from hitting Denver, Colorado by crashing into it with several spacecraft. That wound up changing the asteroid's path, but in the process, unfortunately, a 262-foot chunk of rock broke off, and that is what struck New York City. Chodas described that exercise as a worst case scenario, and it ended up with Central Park decimated by a fireball that released as much energy as an atomic bomb. So I can't imagine the rest of lower and upper Manhattan survived much of that firebomb that conveniently hit Central Park. Chance, even probably with a targeting computer, you'd have difficulties hitting that with an asteroid from outer space. And there is a picture of Central Park, although it is a pretty big target, I must say, in a place I have visited in the past. But in the last month's simulation, which we did feature in All Out Asteroids, the Czech Republic and Austria didn't fare much better than New York City in that 2019 simulation. However, humanity's big and only win in these exercises came during 2017, one in which the participants spotted an Eiffel Tower size asteroid 10 years in advance, and after sending a scouting mission into space, scientists discovered that it was actually two space rocks orbiting each other. And again, it's a simulation, so obviously they didn't discover that, they created that, unless of course, read into it what you will. But this is known as a binary asteroid, and NASA gave the simulation that curveball. Chodas said because 1/3 of asteroids tends to be binary. A little baby pea burp there for you under my breath. Rather than ramming a spacecraft into that asteroid pair, the experts chose to blow them up with nukes, and luckily they succeeded, just like they did in Armageddon. But despite repeated failures, experts are learning valuable lessons, is the good news. For all of NASA, FEMA, and the global space agencies, experts experimentation within these simulated asteroid strikes, and I believe that is the area that will be impacted by the recent fictional simulated asteroid that was the failure to prevent hitting Earth by the globe's leading experts in such things. But since 2013, these simulations have enabled experts to practice how they'd communicate with one another and with the public ahead of an impact. And they think, though, how they'd facilitate evacuations and what they'd say to keep the public calm and informed, and how to responsibly share information between governments. And that is really, I think, the part and parcel and purpose of these drills. Although they do carry them out every year, it would be kind of cool to see them sort of air them live on TV, a little bit like the Super Bowl, perhaps. or maybe not, but still it does seem to me that this is not necessarily NASA and FEMA and such forth trying to prevent such things, but they are kind of simulating and maybe using these computers to gauge the reaction of the aftermath and how humanity would survive and how they would be practically controlled in the lead up to that event, and when would be the point to let the public know that such a thing was happening, and would you let them know at all until it was far too late for maybe people to give up and start raping, robbing, looting and pillaging and just sort of carrying out in full anarchy in the last days of Earth before that impact hits. But as I said, guys, we are going to start to wrap this up because I think we are nearly at the end of this. Holman said that each successive NASA exercise has improved from its predecessor, and people have absolutely gotten better over the years, he said, adding that the more and more countries participate every time. And again, a little bit of they practicing getting these countries all on board for these simulations in preparation for unifying them under the banner of the One World Order. But in particular, scientists have refined their ability to use hypothetical asteroid size, rotation, and orbital path to predict where it will hit and how much damage it will do. Those assessments can help governments decide how best to reduce the severity of its impact and to move the right people out of harm's way. And again, who decides who the right people are to be moved out of the harm's way? The simulations have also revealed that such assessments change quickly as scientists learn about an incoming asteroid. During the earliest stage of an exercise, the possible impact location could be anywhere on the globe, Barbie said, but that estimate shifts as the simulation progresses. So data might then suggest an asteroid will crash into Africa, only to point to Europe as the most likely target soon thereafter. Maybe, I guess, if you could direct asteroids, then you could choose your target at will. But I'm glad that we are discovering these sort of things by working through the details of simulated scenarios before confronted with an actual scenario, Barbie said. And again, are they practicing these scenarios because of an actual scenario on the cards? Who knows? Let me know what you think when we return live to the studio, if indeed you have thoughts and opinions, and if indeed you have been paying attention. Or maybe there was one or two of you that just had a total West Fest at 3.5 or so hours listening to my accent. But there we go, guys. I did want to wrap it up with some asteroid impact articles, and in particular point out that NASA didn't just conduct this simulation the one time last month. They have been carrying this out for years and years now, 8 years in fact. And we also saw some recent news articles that come up as a result of a search regarding asteroids. And again, I encourage each and every one of you to go out and do a little bit of research and looking into this stuff for yourself. Don't always take my word for it, and don't share and agree my opinion and pass it off as your opinion. If you have any sort of things to add of your own independent thoughts and opinions, then please do share them. And the time to do so is not that far away, because as I said, guys, we are now done with part 2 of All Out Apocalypse, and we will, as I said, be returning momentarily to the thrift store studio for live reactions, so stay tuned for that.